Rogers TV.
Number one for local news in Ottawa and the Valley. This is City News, now on 101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
It's Monday, May 17th. Good morning. I'm Andrew Boyle. Right now in Ottawa, 14 degrees in Smiths Falls. And here's what's making news in Ottawa and the Valley. All breaking news from the provincial COVID booking system. As of 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, the vaccine eligible age drops dramatically. With the details, here's City News reporter Laura Carney.
Starting tomorrow, anyone 18 and older will be able to book their appointment province-wide, and they say that this comes a week ahead of schedule due to a high number of doses that will be coming to this province. Now, this comes as the hotspot targeted approach is now over in Ontario. Vaccines will now be distributed on a per capita basis after 2 weeks of sending half the supply to hotspots like Toronto and Peel. The Ontario Science Advisory Table recommending the hotspot priority, though, continue for another 2 weeks. A milestone number of shots administered in this province, now surpassing 7 million over the weekend. But again, breaking news from the province saying that starting tomorrow, everyone 18 and older will be able to book their COVID-19 vaccine appointment. I'm Laura Carney.
Now, while we don't know exactly when the appointments will be, we do know when they can be booked now. We also know there are massive shipments this week from both Moderna and Pfizer of vaccines. Here's City News reporter Jamie Pulfer.
This is a huge week on the vaccine delivery front.
Due to the upcoming Victoria Day holiday, Pfizer has agreed to deliver doses earlier by moving up a significant portion of the deliveries scheduled for the week of May 24.
Procurement Minister Anita Anand says that move by Pfizer to ramp up the timeline ahead of the long weekend means a record number of doses are coming into the country, a total of 4.5 million, with the majority coming from Pfizer, the rest of them from Moderna. At this point, almost 45% of Canadians have had at least one dose. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says by the summer, the country will have enough vaccine so that every eligible resident will have received their first dose. By September, he says there will be enough doses for everyone to be fully vaccinated.
I'm Jamie Pulfer.
City News Time, 9:02. Gatineau will emerge from its 45-day lockdown today, the curfew moving back to 9:30 in the evening from 8 o'clock, and some non-essential businesses and personal and aesthetic care services will be allowed to open. The Quebec government lifting the special emergency measures that were imposed back on April 1st, and they included the closure of schools and non-essential businesses. Now, secondary schools reopened to in-person learning today. Elementary schools did that last Monday. All residents above the age of 18 are eligible to book their vaccine appointment across Quebec. And in case you missed the breaking news in Ontario this morning, just announced less than an hour ago, everyone over the age of 18 can book their appointment, too, for a vaccine shot as of 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. City News Time, 9:03, and now your forecast with meteorologist Jill Taylor.
Plenty of sunshine, some afternoon cloud, a gorgeous day overall, the high near 25 degrees. Tonight, slight chance of showers late this evening, otherwise cloudy, 13 for the low, and tomorrow, sun and cloud, 26. For today, the guaranteed high, 25.
And right now in Ottawa, 13 degrees. In Smiths Falls, it's 14. Ottawa police continue to target unsafe drivers through Project Noisemaker. This weekend, officers were around Baseline and Merivale. 4 stunt driving charges laid, one of those drivers going 146 on Woodruff. That's an 80 zone. Overall, 150 tickets were issued this weekend, including 89 for speeding and 10 for an improper muffler. I'm Andrew Boyle. For News Anytime, follow up online at ottawa.citynews.ca.
Good, bad, or complicated.
There's no news in Ottawa and the Valley he won't talk about.
It's the Rob Snow Show on Rogers TV and City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Well. Just like that, it's neck and neck. According to one poll, On federal politics, neck and neck, basically a tie between the Liberals and the Conservatives. Liberal support down, Conservative support up. What could be going on? Good morning. This is the Rob Snow Show on City News. I hope you had a nice weekend, chance to enjoy the nice weather, all while obeying the law. Back to work, back to life, back to reality, back to covering the news, maybe offering a view or two on the news. This poll, bit of a shocker this morning. We may be following up. It's from Abacus data, and it shows a swing in momentum from the Liberals to the Conservatives. And the question will be, is it a one-off or the first sign of a trend? Whatever it is sure to put a smile on Aaron O'Toole's face. The Liberals are still in the lead over the Conservatives, but that lead has narrowed. 34 to 32. 34 to 32. The NDP back at 17, Greens at 7. But the thing with the Liberals, and why they might not lose sleep over this poll, it's where the Liberals are leading. I mean, the Liberals are leading where the seats are. Abacus has the Trudeau Liberals up by 13 points in Ontario and up by 8 points in Quebec. So that's comfortable. Three-way race in British Columbia. The Liberals would sweep through Atlantic Canada. The Conservatives would sweep through Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and Alberta. What's working for the Liberals when you break it down by issue? COVID-19 relief programs. They're getting high marks for that. So I guess you could take it this way. If you're getting money from the Trudeau Liberals, chances are you think the Trudeau Liberals are doing a great job, and you're going to vote for the Trudeau Liberals. Where are the Liberals weak? Oh, a whole bunch of other things. 4 areas, according to Abacus, where the Liberals are not scoring very well, including the handling of the economy, the vaccine rollout, border controls, and debt and deficit. Weak marks there. When asked if they thought it was time for a change in government, 41% of those polled said yes, so that is trending higher as time goes on. And the most eager for a change in government are men in Western Canada. They can't wait to get rid of Trudeau. And despite, this is remarkable, despite the sexual misconduct crisis in the Canadian Armed Forces and the total lack of action from anyone in the Liberal government, 76% of women polled give this government good or acceptable ratings on, quote, advocating equal rights for women. 76% approval. But 34 to 32 overall would suggest a race that is tightening up, but the Liberals still the odds-on favorite to win an election because of their strength in the big cities of Ontario and Quebec. But a brand new poll to start the week that shows a horse race. Thank you for that, Abacus data. You made my morning. Among the stories we shall immerse ourselves in this morning will be, what will Canada do with any surplus of AstraZeneca vaccine? Give it to me. Give it to me. Send some this way. I need one more dose. This Thursday would work for me. Anytime now, between now and the second week of August. Anytime. Just call me and I'm available. Anita Anand is the federal procurement minister, the vaccine procurement minister, and she told one of the weekend political talk shows, the West Block Global News, Canada may donate any surplus of AstraZeneca vaccine. Discussions are already underway, she said. Quote, we are, quote, all on the same page in terms of the need to donate excess doses that Canadians aren't using. So we are thinking of all the options relating to any excess doses. Now, I'm just like a few million other Canadians, okay, who jumped at the chance to get just one shot of AstraZeneca vaccine. I'm just wondering what happens to me now. That's all I want to know. Will I actually get the second dose when I'm supposed to get the second dose, which for me is the middle of August sometime, and will it be the same vaccine or is it going to be a different vaccine? Will I get a second dose at all when I'm supposed to get a second dose? And will it really be a 1-dose summer and a 2-dose fall? Because the middle of August is still summer. So is the middle of September, by the way. Still in the middle of summer, you know. Meantime, gosh, did you hear that guy on Question Period this weekend? The guy from Oxford University? He said some things about Canada's vaccination program. I'm telling you, want to run and just like hide under the bed. Evan Solomon is interviewing, this guy is like the super distinguished professor from Oxford who helped work on the AstraZeneca vaccine. And he did not have very many good things to say about the Canadian approach, the Canadian strategy to vaccine rollout. Woeful pace of getting people fully immunized, 3.6%. He said it's probably closer to 3.7% now, who have had actually 2 doses of vaccine. He's not at all impressed with the wait time of 16 weeks between doses. He's not at all impressed with the possibility of mixing and matching doses. And he more or less said, we're messing around. That's what we're messing around. We're messing around with science. And we could get hammered by the Indian variant because so few of us are fully vaccinated. And he said a lot of people are going to die who don't need to die. It was a real wake-up call. So just when you think things are getting better, along comes a vaccination expert out of the UK and says, Canada, you're in a bad way. You're in a bad way. So we're going to get back into that as well today. We're going to talk about vaccines, the vaccination rollout, where we are with the vaccination program. It's good news about the expansion of the vaccination program. I'm not saying there hasn't been good news. We're going to talk about this lockdown. Okay, we're going to talk about outdoor activities. Now that the really nice warm weather is finally here, this growing opposition to the continued ban on so many outdoor activities. It's about golf, it's about tennis, it's about a whole lot more than that. And in fact, David, you have the legislature channel right there. They are talking about this in the Ontario legislature right now to start the morning session. At Queen's Park, the NDP has a motion. They want to put this to a vote, this ongoing ban on so many outdoor activities. This is Sarah Singh of the Ontario New Democrats.
To work on their mental health and well-being, but you have chosen to just go to the extreme with the most restrictive measures. We are going to police our way through this. That was the response of this government. Not let's listen to the science table and do things like make sure that essential workplaces were the only things that were open. Maybe close down non-essential workplaces. The science table recommends that. The science table also says paying essential workers to stay home when they are sick, exposed, or need to get vaccinated. That was a recommendation that the science table made. Accelerating the vaccination of essential workers. And
so we're going to be listening into that. A report from Global News says Canada is still expecting 17 million doses of AstraZeneca vaccine. Like, what are we going to do with them? Give them to me. Give them all to me. I will find them a good home. I will give one to David. He hasn't even had a first shot yet. David is going to be distracted today. He's going to try and book a vaccination appointment, right? So let's boot this around during the talkback hour. How you're feeling on this Monday morning in this ongoing battle against COVID-19 in Ottawa, across Ontario, across the country. We do the talkback hour every morning between 10 and 11 o'clock. It's an hour of opinion. It's an hour of phone calls. It's an hour of your rants and your arguments and maybe a few of my own. 750-1310, 750-1310. 613-750-1310. Email therobsnowshow@ottawa.citynews.ca. I mean, are we making good progress here? Is that your sense of it? Are we getting closer to the finish line here? Is the finish line in sight? Mr. Trudeau says 1 dose summer, 2 dose fall. Is that okay with you if that's the case? 1 dose summer, 2 dose fall. Is that okay with you? Case counts are down here in Ottawa, across Ontario. Case counts are down. Hospitalizations are coming down. ICU admissions falling. But we're still in a lockdown. Will be for another 2.5 weeks under the best case scenario. But from the peak, the daily cases are down by more than 50%. I mean, there are signs of progress. There are signs of improvement, but there are also signs we're not going anywhere. We're still in lockdown jail. You could maybe even argue we're falling further and further behind because other countries are opening up. NHL playoffs have started. Some of the arenas have fans in the stands. The UK opened up a bit more today. There's a lot of worry it could backfire on Boris Johnson's government because of the rising number of variant cases. But you can dine indoors across the UK today, and you can hug your mother without fear of getting arrested. No such luck here unless, you still live with your mother. It's a new week, middle of the month. Nice weather's here. I'd like to get your take on how you think things are going in our fight against COVID-19. Are we making progress? Are we stuck in the muck? Are we not going anywhere, falling further behind? I want to hug my mother too. Oh, and coming up next, we're going to talk this story. So much outrage in the Twitter sphere about the local Porsche dealership, Mark Motors. Wants to build a new building near Montreal Road and Saint Laurent. $17 billion building, Porsche dealership. Very nice. You could buy a very, very, very nice German sports car there. And this project qualifies for an economic development grant from the city for $2.9 million, and the lefties are not impressed. They say that money should be used for just about, anything else other than helping a car dealer sell expensive German cars to the Ottawa elite. I would like to know what you think. Should the Porsche dealership get a multi-million-dollar grant from the city to promote economic development in Vanier? This is the Rob Snow Show on City News.
It was devastating, and it's devastating to all small business, but not knowing where it was going to go. But then the renovation market, as people stayed home, took off like wildfire. And for us, yes, we're very lucky, very fortunate that we were able to turn things around. I think a lot of it had to do with our internet presence as well, that I was, kept working on over years, and then it kind of took off. So that was very positive. But now, no, people are staying at home. We're renovating different markets, whether it's a kitchen or a backyard or, your fireplace. They want to cozy things up. So yes, things are extremely busy right now. Right now it's fireplaces, and I think with the snowbirds, a lot of those clients have existing wood fireplaces, so they're looking at inserts. So they want to convert the wood to gas. They don't want to deal with the wood part of it, but they want it clean and easy and efficient, and that's been a major, major increase in our business. The cottage and chalet market has really increased, absolutely. We see that people, that's their staycation now, is either the backyard or their cottage with their close bubble of family. So there's no question that we've seen a big, big increase in that area as well. I've seen a change in the backyard because now the staycation, from my past being in the pool business, one of our great clients was in the other day, and he's in the pool business. He's booking for 2022. For in-ground pools, okay? So I think what's happened now is that's brought everybody back home, and I think maybe down the road, maybe 3, 4, 5 years from now, we're still gonna see people spending time in their backyards and staying home more. The barbecue area, really, we call it the backyard. So you walk out of your house into a backyard, and it kind of looks like that with the fencing and the sky and things like that. So that is just our fun room. It's just, there's a lot of cool gadgets there that has to do with dealing with charcoal and wood pellet barbecues. To go online, you're going to find, you just Google, romantic fireplaces will come up. The one nice thing about our work is that when the Google reviews and the Google pictures are phenomenal. We're uploading stuff every day. I have at least 1,000 jobs, real jobs that you can take a look at, either on the Google pictures on the drive, or if you go to our website at romanticfireplaces.com and click on our work, it's where we used to load lots of them up, but there's lots of pictures there too. But the great thing about that is they're real. There's testimonials there about people talking about our team. And our team here is unique to everybody else. It's two small teams, but these fellas work for me. They're our guys. So when they go into your home, they care as much about your house as you do.
Vanier. The Rob Snow Show returns
on Rogers TV and City News.
101.1 FM
and 1310 AM.
One of the stories to watch at Ottawa City Hall in the next few days is going to be the FEDCO Committee, the Finance and Economic Development Committee, because up for discussion will be a grant, a big one. $2.9 million for a luxury car dealership in the Vanier area, a Porsche dealership. Mark Motors, already on Montreal Road, there are plans for a big new building to be at the corner of Montreal and Saint Laurent. And there's a lot of criticism about it, a $2.9 million city grant for a Porsche dealership. Mark Kaluski joins me now. He is the head of the Vanier BIA. Good morning.
Good morning.
What do you think about it?
Well, I it's an interesting thing we have going here. I've seen a lot of the commentary on social media and that, and it's easy to see a headline and see that the city is giving Porsche $3 million, and you really have to dig a bit deeper into it to truly understand what's going on here. The city introduced this program, for all of the Montreal Road corridor, and they have some one in Bell's Corners and one on St. Joseph. And the idea of the program is to help areas that need a little bit of a kickstart in development by offering what is kind of a unique and innovative program. So this is very much not the city handing Porsche $3 million. This is the city foregoing some tax revenue over the next 10 years. To encourage a developer who's a local business person to redevelop what was kind of an undeveloped lot right at the prime corner of Saint Laurent and Montreal Road.
Yeah, I mean, the fact is, Mark Motors is a local company, right? It's been
Absolutely.
It's been in business for 60 years, a family company, right? So
yeah, the Marks are quite involved in the community. I mean, every charitable event, they're there. They support the Boys and Girls Club, which is just down the street from them. And again, any of these arguments sound as if we're being defensive, but the reality is this is a local business owner who is investing in their community. And to be frank, what they're replacing, they're tearing down an old cruddy garage on a big parking lot, and investing $17 to $20 million in the area. So I've heard the arguments and people saying this money should go to whatever cause you believe, especially affordable housing and that, but it really isn't quite that simple. It's just the city postponing revenues that they're going to get in 10 years, when the building or when the value of the lot appreciates. So it's we actually hope this program gets taken up by many more businesses along Montreal Road. The whole point is that it encourages these businesses to take what the property that's run down or maybe doesn't have much value, invest in it, and increase the value. And the payoff is you get a deferral on some of your taxes for a number of years. Right.
But the tax bill would still go up for that property and go up significantly, though, Mister. It's the story says the property taxes. What's there now is $25,000 a year in property taxes. What could be there would be about $355,000 a year in property tax. I mean, it's a big appreciation for the city. Plus, $1.7 million in worth of fees and permits have to be acquired. So it's not like it's a big giveaway or something. So.
Well, that's it. And I mean, with respect to the people who are commenting, it is a complicated program, and it takes a little bit of explanation. And, this program isn't a secret, backroom deal. It's very much in the open, and again, we hope other companies take advantage. And it's not quite the same as a few years ago when City Council decided to give Amazon $800,000 to open a fulfillment center. The richest company in history. This is something that's meant to a very targeted measure to try to help kickstart some development along a corridor that frankly needs it. I mean, there have been a lot of challenges over the number of years, so. I hope that more developers take advantage of this program because I think it's a win-win.
And again, any business could apply for this program, right? It's for that whole Vanier corridor there, right?
That's right. And there are measures within the program that also help you get financing. So it could even appeal to developers who aren't as well capitalized, get access to financing that wouldn't normally be available to anyone other than the major developers of the city. So I think it's an interesting program, and I'm hopeful that we see more coming out of it.
Okay. I mean, what's the long-term vision for Montreal Road? What would you like to see along Montreal Road, Mr. Kaluski?
Well, it's going to be kicked off by Montreal Road is currently under redevelopment. They're replacing the water mains and doing all the infrastructure. So the whole streetscape is going to be redone from the Cummings Bridge right down essentially to St. Laurent Boulevard. So that's going to kickstart some development. Obviously, with the pandemic and the development going on right now, it's a bit hard to see where the winds are blowing. There's going to be some intensification along Montreal Road as well. We have new towers coming in. So the hope is, with jobs and new residents, or an increased number of residents, we will see some businesses pick up and open up, and see some interesting shops and maybe some new restaurants. There's a lot of opportunity along Montreal Road, and I think it's, I've been saying it for 15 years now. It's the next upcoming neighborhood of the city, but it does really feel like it's heading in the right direction.
Okay, so more generally speaking, let's talk a little bit about the lockdown being extended until at least June 2nd. When you heard that news, what was your reaction, Mr. Kaluski?
Disappointing. Obviously, I don't think there was anyone who could say they were genuinely surprised to see it extended. I think the hope amongst most business owners is if we're in this, then let's just kill it off. Let's do the extra 2 weeks if it means we can open and not have to close down again. I think there's some hope and optimism around the messaging coming around the vaccinations that, after that 2 weeks, if things keep heading in the right direction, then we maybe see outdoor dining open again and some, limited in-store retail. But really, nobody wants to see this extended anymore. So if this is what it takes to get us back to some reopening plan, then let's do it.
Okay, is there something more that you think the government should be doing? Where is it coming up short? Where do you think it could be helping businesses more? What are you hearing from your members?
It always comes down to money. They announced a small business grant. The provincial government did. There were some hiccups along the way, and from what I understand, there's still some lingering hiccups that are they're trying to address. There were some problems with the eligibility criteria for that program as well. Second round of funding came out in the last month, and some businesses have been benefiting from that. But every time you delay or postpone a reopening, every time you shut down businesses, they need to be compensated. I mean, they're closing down to help protect everybody in our area here. So they need the money to support to get through. I mean, we've been in this year and a couple months now. We've put a lot of money into this. It would be sad to see some of these businesses lose it at this point, now that we're hopefully near the end.
Okay. Hey, thank you so much for this morning. Great discussion. Nice to hear from you.
Thank you very much. Take care.
news in Ottawa and the Valley. This is City News, now on 101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
It's Monday, May 17th. Good morning. I'm Andrew Boyle. Right now in both Ottawa and Smiths Falls, 17 degrees, and here's what's making news this hour. All adults in Ontario will be able to book their COVID shot as of tomorrow morning at the provincial portal. The province opening up appointments for anyone over the age of 18 starting at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. The opening of appointments to every adult comes as the country is set to receive 4.5 million doses of vaccine this week. Both Pfizer and Moderna increasing their shipments to arrive before the long weekend. However, all doses arriving won't be administered before the May 2-4. Farm Boy adds its 39th store. More openings are scheduled, but today, for the first time, the doors at the new store in Barrhaven at 1581 Greenbank will open. It's also the first Farm Boy that does not have any single-use plastic bags at the checkout for you to take your groceries home. You're encouraged to bring your own bags or pick up reusable bags in the store. A dip in the number of coronavirus cases in Mumbai, India, offering a glimmer of hope for that country suffering through a surge of infections. In the last week, the number of new cases plunged nearly 70% in that nation's financial capital. It's home to about 22 million people after a peak of 11,000 daily cases, the city recording fewer than 2,000 today. Even the capital of New Delhi seeing signs of improvement, but experts say the crisis is far from over. City News Time, 9:32. I'm Andrew Boyle. For news anytime, follow up online at ottawa.citynews.ca.
He's the opinionated Ottawa icon.
The Rob Snow Show returns
On Rogers TV and City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Again, this morning at the Ontario Legislature, there's an NDP motion that is up for debate. It's a private member's motion, and what it calls on, quote, the Ford government should allow outdoor amenities and activities to immediately reopen safely in keeping with the recommendation of the Ontario Science Table, and the various MPPs are having their say on it right now.
He needs not just to listen to his buddies, but he needs to listen to the experts in science. Leading medical organizations like the Canadian Pediatric Society of Canada, infectious disease specialists such as Dr. Andrew Morris, Dr. Isaac Bogosh, and Dr. Peter Juni have all spoken out in favor of outdoor activities and that sports be reopened. So we know this is so important for the health and well-being of our children. In Hamilton, Mr. Speaker, we're really proud of our golf traditions. We've been home to the Canadian Open. We have Elena Sharp, who's the LPGA professional. Mackenzie Hughes, currently on the professional tour, PGA Tour, just played at the Masters. These are some of the people that have built the golf tradition in Hamilton. But it's just not those folks. It's kids that are playing golf. It's families. It's women. It's seniors. Lots of people play golf, and they're also run by small businesses. I received a letter from Jason Cassis, who's the owner of Knollwood Golf Course, who said, I'm writing for you to help persuade the Ford government to rescind their closure of outdoor amenities. The vast majority of golf courses in Ontario are public, not private, and are owned and operated as small family businesses. We safely played 22 million rounds in the province with no incidents of COVID, and just as the science table concluded, golf is safe, along with tennis, volleyball, cricket, and outdoor sports. He went on to say that they typically employ over 50 people, 40 of which are presently laid off, and they would like to get them back to work. So he asked, please help stop politicizing of outdoor sports. Enough is enough. Everyone in North America but the Ford government seems to agree. Also, for our young folks, soccer is huge. And on behalf of the Ontario...
So that is happening right now in the Ontario Legislature. Now, last week in Quebec politics, the CAQ government, led by Premier Legault, tabled a wide-ranging language bill. If adopted, it would beef up Quebec's language laws. It would affect everything from education to immigration to the justice system, along with the workforce. It's called Bill 96, and for some reaction to it, we're joined by Jane Toller, Warden, Pontiac Regional County Municipality. Good morning. Good morning, Warden.
Good morning.
Yeah, it's very nice to hear from you. Thank you for taking the time. What is what's your overall opinion of Bill 96?
I wasn't surprised because we have a premier who does what he says he's going to. This was one of his election promises, and their first term is finished in 2022, so I expected it.
No surprises, you expected it. Okay. How would it affect your region, the Pontiac?
The Pontiac region has always been bilingual. We, I believe in the last census, have over 60% first language English. But in spite of that, most people are bilingual. I'll use myself as an example. I came from Ontario, and in the last 3 years, as the elected warden, I've committed myself to doing my best to become bilingual. And we know that we have the opportunity to respond. And on this Wednesday, the 19th, our Council of Mayors will vote unanimously on a resolution that will request, demand that we retain our bilingual status. So we're one of those regions, and especially with our proximity to our neighbors in Ontario, where French and English is spoken readily. We are a very inclusive region, and in particular, we are welcoming new Canadians, and everyone is welcome in the Pontiac.
Now, as I understand it, the Pontiac Regional County Municipality, you're officially bilingual.
We are.
You've declared that you're officially bilingual, right?
We've been declared that way by the government in the past.
Okay.
And so we want to make sure that's reinstated.
Right.
And
this bill would
I'm
revoke it,
confident
right?
It will be.
This bill would revoke it. Is that right?
No. This bill is promoting French as the language of business and common language.
Okay.
It's going to provide free French lessons to English-speaking people. He does not, the Premier, want to drive English-speaking people out of Quebec. And I believe, and our students are still going to be able to be educated in English, but there will be a cap, there will be a percentage of how many will be allowed to do that in Quebec. Otherwise, they will need to go to Ontario. My only concern about this overall is that in time, I believe it could limit the number of people who might want to invest in Quebec, because not everyone is going to want to have to do business in French. However, if they come to the Pontiac, I believe that there will always be translation available.
Okay. So what would it mean for local businesses in your region, Warden, if this bill goes ahead as is?
Well, most communication with government will be in French, but it has always been that way.
Okay.
Translation services will be available. We could perhaps request English translation. If not, I could see being given funding to have some personnel here in the Pontiac region, whether it's at the MRC or the SADC, to help businesses who just can't read French.
Okay, but what would it mean for a business having to hire employees, deal with customers? Would most of that communication have to take place?
Well, that's an excellent point. I think most definitely it's going to have to be more of a priority to ensure that you have staff who are bilingual, because there will certainly be people who call and they will demand that they have a conversation in French. So there needs to be, if not everyone working there, at least some people. I actually have a business, and I ensure that I do hire people who are bilingual.
Okay.
I think that it's having lived here now permanently since approximately 2016, I would say that I have developed a very healthy understanding of the importance to protect Quebec culture. There's a great pride. One of the reasons I have enjoyed improving my French is because I understand that it's a matter of respect. And Quebec is unique. It's a magnificent province. However, again, I want to say that I think it puts our region, the Pontiac, in a very advantageous position, because our door is open to everyone, and it still will be possible to move here and work here and be able to speak in English as well.
Okay, what would this Again, you raised it there briefly, but what would it mean for rules around education and the ability of francophones and allophones to enroll in English schools? What's your understanding of
well, what the bill talks about is that they want to preserve the balance of French and English-speaking college networks, so they're not removing English colleges. They just want to keep a balance. But I think their idea of balance, I'm not sure what the percentage is, but it might be about 70 to 30, something like that.
Okay.
But anyways, in Pontiac, we do have Heritage College where courses are being conducted in English. I'm hoping that can be preserved.
Right.
We will be making specific requests in our resolution to certainly do our best to encourage more people, more English-speaking people to take advantage of the free French-speaking lessons, but we also do not want our English students to be driven out of the province, and we'd hate to lose them all to Ontario because sometimes when people are educated in another place, they find work there and they don't return. And we're in the process of a major revitalization in the Pontiac region. We are enjoying a population boom, largely because of COVID-19. And as you know, there's statistics proving that people are leaving cities and they're coming to the country. One other point is that we'll probably have to look at signage. We have bilingual signs, but I think that what's going to be demanded is that the words in French are larger, so we may have to change some signage.
But the French language is the dominant language on any signage.
It is.
Right. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
okay.
it. And on many signs, for example, stomp signs, it only says arrête.
Yeah. But again, just so I'm clear, you're officially bilingual for your municipality. You're not at fear of losing that right now.
So our region is 18 municipalities.
Right.
And actually, I'm going to ask each mayor to go to their councils and vote on this. We do have at least 2 municipalities where French would be the predominant language. Those 2 municipalities may come back and have a different set of concerns, but overall, I would say as a region of 18, I think we are all appreciative of the fact that we are tolerant, we are inclusive, we welcome everyone, and we encourage people to speak the language of their choice. In fact, we have a declaration of that at every one of our council meetings. Our council meetings are largely held in English, but if anyone wants to speak in French, then it immediately changes over to French. And if we need to provide translation, we do that.
Warden, you're always so generous with your time when you're on the program, and I appreciate it again this morning. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Rob.
Bye-bye. The Warden of the Pontiac Regional County Municipality, Jane Toller. So while that goes on, up in the Pontiac, in Toronto, in the Ontario legislature right now, they continue to debate the merits of Ms. Singh from Brampton Centre, her motion on calling on the Ford government to open some of the outdoor activities immediately, safely.
From other parts of the province.
And this is the House Leader for the PCs, Paul Calandra.
So that we could beat this down once and for all, Mr. Speaker. That is what we have been doing over the last couple of weeks. Now, despite what the opposition is saying, is not the time to declare victory over a virus, Mr. Speaker, that has taken so much from the people of this province. Now is the time to do exactly what we are doing. Double down to make sure that we can take this, beat this virus down once and for all. If the opposition wanted to help, and again, a member for Brampton bringing this down, work with us when it comes to the variants of concern. The people of Peel Region Council wanted the airport closed, Mr. Speaker. That should have been the motion that we are debating today. That should have been the unified voice that all members are talking about so that we could beat down this third wave and avoid a fourth wave. Not declaring victory just yet, Mr. Speaker. We're close. We're close thanks to the hard work of the people of the province of Ontario. We're not there, Mr. Speaker, but that's what we should have been focusing on today.
Good. 9:45, this is the Rob Snow Show, and this is City News.
We just took over this business about a few weeks prior to the pandemic, but we've been loving the community, the people, very friendly. But it's been very difficult starting up a new business, just the time that we did, but I'm sure it's the same everywhere. We did take a broken business, which doesn't help us, but we thought we believe in what we do. We're very passionate about food, and we just really wanted to share the Iraqi culture through our food. All our recipes are homemade, so this is very unique. Usually you hear restaurants, shops, it's all frozen food or prepared food. So nothing here is prepared, everything is homemade. We get our meat and produce from a local farm. So supporting local is the way to go. We are supporting all the way. And our meat are actually marinated the day of, so it's as fresh as can be. Quality ingredients and everything is made from scratch. I get a lot of people when they come in, they say it tastes like Middle Eastern, like back home. So for you to have been to Iraq and had the food there, you can really compare and see the similarity. We do like to focus on healthy. So our recipes, not only the homemade, again, everything is from scratch, but we have from combos and to small sandwiches. One of our favorites and very popular is the chicken salad and the beef salad. So now you're getting all the protein and all these amazing ingredients that we all need. During this time, I find a lot of people are sitting at home and not enough movement. So to come here and get something healthy other than go elsewhere and just put, what's not so good for our bodies, makes a huge difference. So we have shawarma sandwiches, combos. I mean, if you're looking for a meal to feed your family, I would highly recommend the family platter. It comes literally with everything, with potatoes, with rice, with chicken, with beef, and we don't charge extra for mix. I know a lot of places do. Here we just add everything to your platter. And lots of healthy choices for sure. We're very passionate about food, and for our small family business, it's been good. Like I said, it's a little struggle, but we are not a chained restaurant.
Rob Snow Show returns on Rogers TV and City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
This is the latest from the Associated Press on the situation in India. This is from about 8 hours ago. With over 24 million confirmed cases and 270,000 deaths, India's caseload is the second highest after the United States, but experts believe the country's steeply rising curve may finally be flattening, even if the plateau is a high one. With an average of 340,000 confirmed daily cases last week, on Monday, reported infections continued to decline as cases dipped below 300,000 for the first time in weeks. But it is still too early to say if things are improving, with Mumbai and New Delhi representing only a sliver of the overall situation. That's the latest from the Associated Press. Now, on the fundraising front, we've been keeping an eye on this for you. There is a new campaign. Some of your favorite restaurants are going to be offering meals in a fundraising campaign to help raise money to buy medical-grade oxygen. 100% of the proceeds going to a partner foundation. And to tell us more about this, it is called 1 Billion Breaths, One Meal to Heal. And to tell us more, we're joined by Joe Thottungal, chef, owner, Coconut Lagoon restaurant on Saint Laurent Boulevard. And good morning, chef.
Good morning, Ms. Rob. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Very good, thank you.
My gosh, I was just saying, what a year it's been for you.
It is.
Right?
Really,
a year ago, you had a fire at your place, right?
Yeah. Still renovating, but thank God I have the other restaurant on a corner which I can serve out of. So there is not much to miss. But, yep, thank you for supporting this fundraising. This is very important for people from India, as we are come from India. And we are planning to do this event on 26th of May. And with the lockdown restrictions, we are doing a pickup, delivery, or curbside pickup. And the menu is online now. And the 100% the proceed will go to the foundations in India, mostly in Mumbai and Delhi, where it was hardly hit. And we will be buying 10 kilo of oxygen with each meal cost. It's US $86, but in Canadian it is 105. So we price the meal for two at 105 Canadian, so that we can buy 10 kilo of oxygen for each meal sold.
Right. So eat well, everybody. You'll be eating well, right?
It will be. It is a nice way to support, and I wanted to give a shout out to the wineries and breweries who supported me with this campaign. So they are providing some wines and beers and things like that, so that I can put that also with the meal package. So it includes a drink also.
So, Chef, tell us about how what's happening in India has affected you, what you're hearing from family or friends about the situation there.
This is one lifetime, we will be facing this kind of medical disaster from our home country. And it is, let me tell you this much, every family in India is pretty much affected with this pandemic. And it was mostly in Mumbai and Delhi. Now I am hearing, because I am come from the southern part of India, a state called Kerala. And recently we are hearing it is more in South India. Now it's going up. The curve is going up. So we are having triple lockdowns and all that right now as we speak today, starting today in 4 major cities in my province. And it is really sad to see my age people between 40 and 50 are getting affected and dying. That is the dire situation right now. And it is sad, but I think it is, as you mentioned earlier, it is plateauing a little bit, but still the numbers are too high when you look at the broad spectrum. And so any help will help. The country I come from, it is strong, and I'm sure we will get back stronger. But with this scale of disaster, it is really, it was unprecedented. People never knew that this will come like a wave.
Yeah, and it happened so fast, didn't it, Chef?
It is.
It seemed that everything was going pretty well, all things considered, and then it just kind of came back with a vengeance, it seemed.
Yeah, if you look at in January, they said it was under control. And my parents, about 70, 75 years old, they were here for a long time, and they went to Kerala in India, and now they are stuck there because it's gone up. Like in the month of March and April, it shoot up. So it was a little bit like it was blow, but life comes like that. We cannot predict much, but it is really, really bad with that much population and all that. It's hard, but I think they are very strong and fighting it, and the curve is coming down. It's a good sign.
That's a good sign. Yeah,
it is.
Yeah, it's a good sign.
Yeah.
So as you say, the goal is to cover the $86, the cost of oxygen. So you've priced out the meals.
105
at 105, right? Canadian, right?
Yeah.
But that includes bottle of wine or 2 local craft beer, 2 mango lassi, right? So, it does include some beverages. Now, it all looks very good. You have non-vegetarian, vegetarian option, right?
Yeah, 2 sets of menu. So
Yeah.
it's basically a 3-course meal, 1 appetizer. And this is, as Indian food is always, you can share. So there is a few vegetarian dish. There is a local, Mariposa farm giving us some duck, which will be a biryani. Biryani is a very famous dish of India. And, so that is one dish with local duck. And there is lamb, there is paneer, mushrooms, everything, little bit of seasonal things, what we added, new potatoes, cauliflower dish, So it's a well-rounded menu. And by enjoying a meal like that and with the wine, you are helping 100%, the proceeds will all go, and we're getting good support to cover the food cost and all that. So, and we are dedicating next Wednesday, the 26th of May, for this fundraising. So I urge Ottawa people to support us as a community, and I know that they will, but just one.
Right. So the fundraiser runs from May 23rd to the 30th, right?
Yeah, that is all over the world.
All over the world,
Right.
and your meals will be served on the 26th. Is that right?
26, that is right, yeah.
Okay.
Because there is around 50 restaurants as we speak now from all over the world is donating.
Right.
And we are looking around 250,000 plus money as a fundraiser. So they can pick any day of the week, and we picked right after the long weekend, like on Monday, after Monday, like Wednesday in the middle of the week, so that people can enjoy at their home. We are happy to deliver. It's a free delivery in Ottawa, or you can come and say hello to us and pick it up from our restaurant. Happy to see you all.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Chef.
Thank you
for everything that you're doing.
And stay safe.
Yeah, you too. You too, Chef. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. That is Chef Joe Thottungal from Coconut Lagoon and Tally. 9:58 here. Talkback Hour coming up next. We're going to talk about the pandemic, where we are, how you think we're doing, what we could be doing better. Are we making progress here? Are we kind of stuck in limbo? Just give me your sense of it. And let's talk about things on a Monday morning. 750-1310 on The Rob Snow Show here on City News.
local news in Ottawa and the Valley. This is City News, now on 101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
It's Monday, May 17th. Good morning. I'm Andrew Boyle. Right now in Ottawa and in Smiths Falls, 17 degrees, and here's what's making news in Ottawa and the Valley. It is a major step forward in the vaccination rollout. Ontario opening up vaccine registration tomorrow morning. Here's City News reporter Momin Qureshi.
It wasn't supposed to happen until next week, but now the province is jumping the gun, saying starting tomorrow morning, anyone 18 plus across the province can book a vaccine appointment. This is because of increased supply of the vaccine that is coming in. So starting tomorrow morning, that provincial portal will start allowing anybody 18 plus to start booking their appointments. We know that a lot of people 18 plus across the province have already been in line for vaccines. If you live in hotspots or if you are able to get to one of those mobile or pop-up clinics that opens in your neighborhood, that has all been happening. But now, whether you live in a hotspot or not, it'll start tomorrow morning. I'm Omen Qureshi.
Now, Canada will be taking delivery of 4.5 million COVID-19 vaccine doses this week from a couple of companies, Pfizer and Moderna. The new vaccine rollout boss expected to be named as well.
Pfizer had been scheduled to deliver 2 million doses. It's shipping an additional 1.4 million ahead of the upcoming holiday weekend. Moderna is also expected to deliver 1.1 million shots over the next 7 days. Experts say it's not likely Major General Danny Fortin's sudden departure will affect distribution. The Department of National Defense says Fortin is under some unspecified military investigation. Federal government hasn't said yet who will replace him coordinating the vaccine rollout. Jerry Smith, the Canadian Press.
City News Time at 10:02. Just getting the new daily case counts for COVID in the province. 2,170 the new cases identified today. Of that number, 90 are from Ottawa, 10 of them in Eastern Ontario. Leeds, Grenville, Lanark reporting 5 new cases, and there are 7 in the Renfrew County Health Unit. I'll have more on these numbers coming up at 10:30. The world's oldest longitudinal study of low-weight premature babies revealing that some tend to age more quickly. Researchers at McMaster started tracking preemies in 1977 and followed them to adulthood. They found boys prematurely at a weight of less than 2.2 pounds tend to age more quickly than boys with average birth weight. Now, the team believes the rate of aging may be influenced by boys handling psychological stress, both before birth and in hospital neonatal ICU after they are born. City News Time, 10:03.
Before the discovery of insulin, diabetes was a death sentence.
The latest Heritage Minute celebrates the 100th anniversary of the Canadian research by Frederick Banting and Charles Best and others led to the discovery of insulin. What some consider the most important medical discovery of the 20th century lifted a death sentence for millions of people around the world who have diabetes. That video was narrated by Victor Garber. It centers on a 13-year-old, Leonard Thompson, who was the first patient to receive successful injections for type 1 diabetes in late 1921. I'm Andrew Boyle for News Anytime. Follow up online at ottawa.citynews.ca.
Talk back.
Hello. On the Rob Snow Show.
The phone lines are open at 613-750-1310.
Now, the Rob Snow Show continues.
How are you feeling about where we are in the fight against COVID-19 here in our city? And across the province and across the country, do you think things are getting better? Do you feel like we're kind of stuck in limbo? Or are we falling behind? Could things actually get worse from here? I'm just curious to get the conversation going. I just want to know how you're feeling as we start another week together doing the Talkback Hour here on the Rob Snow Show. I really want to hear from you. It's 750-1310. 750-1310. 613-750-1310 is our call-in line. And you can drop me an email, therobsnowshow@ottawa.citynews.ca. Do you think things are getting better? Are they about the same as they were last week? You could say things are getting better. Every day, more people are eligible for vaccines. I think our newscast was a pretty upbeat newscast on vaccine deliveries and the expanding number of people who can qualify for at least a vaccine appointment. but we're still under lockdown. Still a ban on outdoor activities. So are we kind of stuck going nowhere? Are things getting worse? I mean, you look at other countries. Other countries are reopening. Look at the UK. More things are opening today across the UK. So give me a call. Let me know how you're feeling about where things are right now. Are you optimistic? Are you pessimistic? Or are you suffering from malaise? I look at the news headlines to try and help me judge. I shouldn't do that. Let the news dictate my mood. But I was perusing the news, not just here in Ottawa, but across the country, and trying to draw my own conclusions about whether things are getting better, or, are we coming close to coming out the other side of this? Is it kind of a mixed bag? For example, we're running a story at City News Ottawa this morning. Headline: New COVID-19 cases, hospitalizations, active cases in Ottawa continue downward trend. So it's a good news read from our website. Read all about it. Quote, Ottawa continues its streak of reporting new case numbers below 100 as hospitalization numbers continue their downward trend. And we just had the new number for Ottawa today, and it's 90 is the number for today. It was 91 yesterday. Yesterday, 5 fewer people in hospital. And on top of that, no new deaths reported in our city yesterday. So all of that is good news, right? All of that is good news. But it goes on. However, this is the bad news, kind of like good news, bad news. However, 43 more variants of concern and mutations have been recorded. 30 of the new variant cases that have been reported include the UK variant, 20 the South African variant, 5 of the Brazilian variant. So that's not so good. And we've also been reporting that half of the adult population in Ottawa has had at least one dose of vaccine. Now, mind you, it took 5 months to get to that number. And as for when a lot of people will be getting second shots, well, that is the great unknown, isn't it? But let's try to stay positive. It took 5 months. And only 5 months for half of the population to have had at least one dose of vaccine in Ottawa. I know, it's been frustrating at times, if not downright maddening. But now, you could make the case, the vaccine rollout seems to be going better. And taking a look at the province-wide situation, there seems to be improvement there as well. Yesterday, the province-wide number was for cases was just shy of 2,200. It was 2,199. Today, it's 2,170. So that's kind of where we are these days, around 2,200. It's come down quite a bit. When this latest stay-at-home order came into effect, the day it was announced, the province reported about 3,200 cases that day. And then the number of cases actually increased for a week to 10 days and peaked in the middle of April at about 4,800 cases. So if you go from 4,800 down to 2,200, well, that's a decline of 54% in about a month. And it has been a hard month, a very hard month for a lot of people. And the government of Ontario is administering record doses now of vaccine, 150,000 one of the days this weekend. So you see, I'm trying to stay positive here, people. Okay, the nice weather is here. It's the middle of May. You know me, Rob Snow. I'm a sunshiny kind of guy, right? I'm always looking on the bright side of life. But I'm also a realist. And you could say, we're going nowhere fast. Because we're still under lockdown. Stay-at-home order, still in effect. State of emergency, still in effect. Restrictions still in place. And very little indication of when any of them will be lifted. Or what it's going to take to get them lifted. Other than a vague benchmark from Dr. Williams that he wants to see cases well below 1,000 a day, whatever that means. Is 800, 750, 500? It used to be 200 was the magic number. I don't know. I think people need some hope. It's not just golfers and tennis players. It's, it's children who can't go to school. It's Ford sparring with the teachers' unions. It's far too many businesses that are still closed. And it's easy to be envious of people living elsewhere. We all have the internet. We know what's going on in the United States. We know what's going on in the United Kingdom. I caught a little bit of the Penguins game. Well, watched a little bit of hockey yesterday afternoon. There were some fans in the stands at the Penguins. Who were they playing? New York Islanders game. Parts of the UK reopening today. These countries, obviously, they had superior vaccination programs, and life, it's not back to normal, but it's more back to normal than it is here, where we're still living under a lockdown and will be for at least another 2.5 weeks. At least another 2.5 weeks. Okay. So what's your sense of it? Let's get to the phones. Talkback hour, 750-1310, 750-1310, 613-750-1310. How are we doing? Do you think we're making progress here? Are we about to come out the other side of this? Are we kind of stuck? We're in limbo? Or are we actually losing ground? That other countries are reopening and we're kind of losing ground to them. What do you think? I'd be curious to know. Kevin, thank you for waiting. You're on the air on City News. Kevin, good morning.
Hi, Rob.
Hi, Kevin.
First-time caller. Love your show.
Love to hear that.
I'll make it very brief.
Take your time.
I don't know so much about my sense of whether we're getting better or worse, but I am frustrated with the wide sweeping rules. And you did mention golfers and tennis players, and those are my two big things. And some of these things, these rules just don't seem to make sense. Why can people not go? And I know you hear this all the time, but why can't I go out and shoot around a golf with buddies where we're 50 yards apart?
Because you might have pops. You might go for pops.
Might have pops after. Well, you know what? Really, if we want to have pops, we're just going to end up somebody's backyard and have those pops.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes no sense. Why can't I go out and play tennis with my brother where we're 40 yards apart? It makes no sense.
Right.
And so to me, and maybe it's a geographic centric, maybe in some areas you can, but it just seems to me that it's wide sweeping and not well thought out, and they need to do a rethink and hopefully come back sooner than later and say, let's allow people to get outside and
get outside and enjoy some of those activities.
Yes,
Yeah.
And sunshine. Like, look at today.
Sure.
Wouldn't it be nice
Beautiful. Yeah.
Anyway, that's my
yeah. I'd
point,
love
Rob.
to do a nine and dine kind of thing. Wouldn't that be nice?
It would be lovely. And if masks, all that kind of stuff, it's doable. And yet these are, and even local doctors are saying, you know what, you should be opening things up. But the problem, now look, I have respect for Rob Ford. I think he's Doug Ford. He's done a wonderful job, I think.
Yeah.
But I just think some things are not well thought out.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Yep.
Bye-bye.
Yep. Good to hear from you. First time caller there, Kevin. Armand. Good morning, Armand.
Good morning.
So do you think we're making progress here? Are we kind of stuck in limbo? Are we falling further behind when you look at what's happening in other countries? What's your sense of it, Armand?
I don't think we're getting very far.
Okay.
And June 2nd, in his speech, he said June 2nd, we're going to hold it till then. But we want people to have a good July and August. But he didn't say the rest of June. So that kind of worries me. It just doesn't make any sense. So he's going to lock us down even more. We're campers on seasonal sites and everything.
Right.
We're having a hard time trying to figure things out, too. It's just like golfers. We're just in limbo.
Oh, I see. Okay. So do you have a trailer then at a site?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Yep.
And do they charge you? Because I'm hearing, we've taken a few calls about this off the air, where the campsite owner operator
still
wants to have your your fee for the season or whatever, Armand, right? But
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But a lot of people don't even know if they're going to be allowed to go to their campsite.
We don't know. You can go.
You can go.
You can go for 24 hours once between now and June the 2nd.
Oh, I see. Okay.
But if you want to go further, you got to quarantine for 14 days at the campsite.
Oh, okay. All right.
So, and in the contract that we just signed recently, all of a sudden the word, due to COVID, we are not responsible for what happens with the fees. You have to pay 100%. That was never there before.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So it's kind of, but we don't know what Mr. Ford's going to do with everybody, you know. And we last year we were doing the stuff, no problem.
Well, I guess, not that they listen to me. Thank you, Armand. Not that they listen to me. I think whatever he announces on June 2nd or in advance of June 2nd, he really has to give people some hope, I think. I think more than anything, even the broad outlines of a reopening plan would be due by June 2nd, if not sooner than June 2nd. 10:17, that's how we begin the Talkback Hour. Rob Snow Show on City News.
Here at the Thirsty Maiden, we offer a variety of products. So everything from breakfast items, so it's breakfast sandwiches and scones, which have become a staple item here at the cafe. We have an assortment of pastries and cakes and desserts. So we're really big on our dessert bar, which a lot of people come here for. And of course, our delicious coffee beverages. So we do offer not your typical lattes, things like a chocolate banana coconut latte, cinnamon coconut, which is my favorite, and our take on even a pumpkin spice, which we add nutmeg and a dash of cayenne in just to give it a bit of a kick. When you start a business, you don't factor in all the things that could go wrong. You think anything that goes wrong, any failure, it's got to be something on your shoulders. You didn't market right, you're carrying the wrong products, you didn't price your items correctly, all the things, right? But when this pandemic began, things going through my brain were I didn't factor in a pandemic. And we were just starting to grow. We were about to blow up, and I think I spent 2 days crying. And then I shut my business down for, I think, a period of 2 or 3 days. And just being at home during that time, I realized this is not me. Anybody that knows me knows I'm a hard worker. I don't give up, and I'm a go-getter. And I started to think, well, I should probably just start clearing out my freezers and posting and seeing who wants to buy what. And that was sort of how I built my momentum back up. I realized that there's still a large number of people that wanted to support us and were looking for the items that I had to provide. So we started there. Then I reopened literally not even 3 or 4 days after I'd closed my doors, and then started doing curbside pickups and deliveries, started doing the deliveries myself, free deliveries to the local community, going as far as Bell's Corners and Carp as well. And that's why we're still here. This community has really kept us going a year into the pandemic. But we've had a changeover of staff a couple times now, and situations change, and when you can't offer hours and hours for your employees, you don't blame them when they have to go elsewhere. So I think that's also been one of the challenges is recruiting, training, and then they leave, and then bringing in more people and recruiting, and anybody in this industry will tell you that that's something we deal with on a regular basis, whether or not COVID's in the mix or not, but more so now because every time there's a lockdown, there's a risk of, will we make it through? And then you lay off more staff, and then again, their situations and their circumstances change.
Time to talk back
on the Rob Snow Show.
Have your say and call now.
613-750-1310.
How are we doing in our fight against COVID-19? Do you feel like we're coming out the other side of it? Are we making progress? Are we kind of stuck? making very little progress? Are we actually falling further behind when you look, for example, at the reopening efforts in some other places like the United States, like the United Kingdom? In Quebec tomorrow, Premier Legault, man of the curfew, is, at least he's going to offer up what the reopening could look like. The Gazette has that story this morning, headlined, Legault to announce Quebec reopening plan Tuesday. So he has scheduled a 5 o'clock news conference for tomorrow afternoon. And according to this news report, Quebec is thinking along the same lines as Saskatchewan. Quote, under Saskatchewan's three-step plan, 3 weeks after 70% of people under 40 and older have received a first dose, restaurants and bars can reopen, places of worship can have larger capacity, and indoor and outdoor gatherings will be permitted. Quebec has already reached this vaccination benchmark. So if Quebec adopted the same plan, it would take effect the first week of June. But Legault said a Quebec plan would require knowing exactly the COVID-19 situation in each individual region. But hey, unlike Ontario, at least as of tomorrow in Quebec, there's going to be a plan will be revealed. People will have hope. It would be nice if we could get the same dose of hope here in Ontario, because a lot of people are struggling, okay? They feel like they're stuck in limbo. They're wondering, is this ever going to end? How are you feeling on this Monday, ladies and gentlemen, in the fight against COVID-19 here on the 17th of May? Are we making progress? Are we kind of stuck, going nowhere fast? Are we actually losing ground? What's your sense of it? Leo, thank you for calling. Leo, you're on City News.
Hi, Rob.
Hi,
I know the cases are going down, and that's one positive note.
Yes, it is, yes.
And the other issue that I have, and a lot of other people here in Ontario and across Canada, is the people that received the AstraZeneca. They got the first dose.
Yes.
And the
I'm one of them.
The concerning thing about this, we haven't received any data on what's going to happen about the second dose. Like people are probably wondering what's going to go on. Like, we need that second dose, and like Health Canada hasn't given us any guidance on it. The government hasn't given us any guidance on it. So we're just wondering what's going to happen. And then the top doctors, the infectious doctors, said we did the right thing by taking that first dose that was available.
That's right, yeah.
But the thing is, we did the right thing, but the thing is, now we're worried. Well, what's coming up next for us?
Yeah. And those were provincial decisions. Those were provincial government decisions to stop.
And the thing is, I totally understand with the governments with the first dose to cancel that because of now the blood clots. It's now in 55,000, 56,000, and the chances of getting blood clots. But the people that have already received the first dose, I think the chances of getting blood clots, getting the second dose would be far, far less. I don't know if they have stats on that. The UK must have stats on that. I'm sure some of the people in the UK got their second dose.
Well, I think this is to the point. On one of the political talk shows on the weekend, CTV's Question Period, they had a professor on from Oxford University who helped work on the AstraZeneca vaccine. And he really hammered away at how Canada is dealing with
I know, I heard all about that too.
So, he's not impressed with this, with all kinds of things. He thinks that more people should be getting second doses. He doesn't like the fact that only 3.7% of the population has even had 2 doses. He doesn't like the idea of waiting 16 weeks between doses. He doesn't like the idea of mixing and matching doses. He says we're messing around with the science. Those were his terms.
The thing is, the science is, say, one in first and second dose. I would rather have the second dose of the AstraZeneca, and I think many other people that have already got the first dose would probably think the same way, than mixing and matching, because that's what the science is, to get the same vaccine. And Dr. Bogosh was saying that the AstraZeneca is an excellent vaccine. So, by what he says, I'm confident with that. So
we're supposed to, one of the news reports this morning, Leo, says we're supposed to get 17 million doses of this vaccine delivered to Canada. So if they're not going to use them, what are they going to do with them?
Exactly, and I heard just in the next little while we're supposed to get 655,000. Like, what are they going to do? Just leave it in freezers, or are they going to give it to people?
Well, Anita and Ann told one of the talk shows they might donate them to other countries.
They could donate them, or they could have what you call our fully vaccinated numbers go up a bit more than what they are, because they're not very good right now.
They could give a shot to you, Leo.
Exactly, and then I would bring up the numbers and to other people that have the AstraZeneca. So that 3% that we have, we could bring that up to 10% or maybe a little higher than that, just by giving people their second dose.
Thank you, Leo. Yep, I share some of your concerns, sir. I most certainly do, especially when it comes to the availability of a second dose of the same vaccine as the first dose, the AstraZeneca vaccine. Steve in Ottawa. Steve.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm good, Steve. How do you think we're doing in our fight against COVID? Do you think we're coming out the other side of this, or?
I think we're sort of halfway through, but
okay.
I was just talking to your producer there about the AstraZeneca that's sitting in a warehouse in Toronto. There's supposed to be 50,000 that's supposed to be expire soon. And then we just got 650,000, like the other gentleman said there last week.
Yeah, so what is to become of these doses, right? So
My wife there this morning, she's spitting mad. She's on the phone trying to get through to the Toronto Doug Ford's office. I told her to try to get through to that Horvitz lady there.
Oh, Horvath.
He let a fire under his bottom.
Well, get a load of this. I mean, we're supposed to get 17 million doses of that vaccine.
Yeah, I just heard that a little while ago.
Yeah. And the federal procurement minister is saying, we might donate them to, we'll donate the surplus to other countries. So.
Well, I can see donating the surplus after, like the rest of us got our second dose.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
But to me, I think they should be moving a lot faster on that rather than having this stuff spoil.
Yeah, good point, Steve. Thank you. Thank you, Steve.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, light a fire under them, Steve says. 10:28, halftime, Rob Snow Show Talkback Hour. Got a line for you, 750-1310, here on City News.
Local news in Ottawa and the Valley. This is City News, now on 101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
It's Monday, May 17th. Good morning. I'm Andrew Boyle. Right now in both Ottawa and Smiths Falls, 20 degrees. And here's what's making news at this hour. Daily COVID case count is out from the province. 2,170 new cases. Of that number, 90 of these cases are in Ottawa. 10 are in Eastern Ontario's Health Unit, 5 in Leeds, Grenville, Lanark, 7 new cases in Renfrew. Now, there were only about 24,500 tests completed for this number. 4 more people in Ontario have also died from COVID in the past 24 hours. All adults in the province will be able to book their COVID shot as of tomorrow morning at the provincial portal. The province opening up appointments for anyone over the age of 18. That starts at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. It is a massive delivery this week of COVID vaccine, Pfizer and Moderna, adding shipments to Canada in advance of our long weekend with 4.5 million doses altogether. And there could be more on the way. Phase 2 trial shows that the Sanofi and GlaxoSmithKline potential vaccine triggered strong immune responses in all adult age groups. After 2 doses, study participants showed neutralizing antibodies in line with those found in people who have recovered from the disease. Both companies plan to produce up to 1 billion doses per year. They've signed agreements to supply Canada. Right now, they're going into the 3rd phase of trials. City News Time, 10:32. I'm Andrew Boyle. For news anytime, follow up online at ottawa.citynews.ca.
Talk back.
Hello. On the Rob Snow Show.
The phone lines are open at 613-750-1310.
Now, the Rob Snow Show continues.
We've been talking about our battle against COVID-19 here in the middle of May on this Monday morning. How do you think we're doing? There are signs of progress. There are signs of improvement on the vaccination front, for sure. There are also signs that we're not going anywhere. We're still under a lockdown, still under a stay-at-home order, still under a state of emergency. You could say when you look at the UK, opening more things up today, when you look fans in the stands at NHL hockey games yesterday, maybe Canada's falling further and further behind some other countries. They're reopening, and we're not. So if you want to have an opinion on that, offer your opinion on that, I would love to hear it. That's why we do the Talk Back Hour at 750-1310, at 750-1310, 613-750-1310. But I also want to raise a new topic, and that is the social media outrage du jour. And that's the Porsche dealership in the Vanier area. And it's amazing what can set people off. This has really set some people off. It has upset them. They're as mad as all get-go. Maybe you're mad too. I'd like to know. Mark Motors, okay, long-time business in the Ottawa area. Dealer of fine German automobiles, the finest, Porsche, okay? And has dreams to build a new building for its dealership. Not far from the current one, Montreal Road. And it would be like a palace. Holy cow. The drawings are quite nice. $17 million Porsche Palace. But here's the thing that has people upset. It qualifies for a grant. I guess you could call it... It's an economic development grant to help spur economic activity for Vanier, and the grant is $2.9 million. Okay, this would be near the corner of Montreal and Saint Laurent. Okay, but this has really, really upset some people. Kate Porter had the scoop for the CBC. To me, there's a lot in it for the city. Okay, first of all, just to build the building, $17 million building requires $1.7 million in development fees and building permits. Then the annual property taxes for the lot, that the land that the building would be on, would jump from $25,000 a year to $355,000 a year. So there's that. Although the taxes would be offset by the grant money, which is $290,000 a year. It's $2.9 million over 10 years. Okay, so the city would still come out ahead by about $65,000 a year or so. And I guess the vision is that this is going to be like an anchor tenant for that corner. Montreal Saint Laurent. And Montreal Road is undergoing this major rebuild right now, right? It's like a $64 million rejuvenation of Montreal Road. New pavement, new sewers, new water mains, hydro lines being buried. And this would be a state-of-the-art auto dealer. But it would also be a Porsche dealer, which I think is one of the reasons why it's really set people off, because it's a Porsche. Who can afford to drive a Porsche? Who can afford to buy a Porsche? Not me. So it's kind of devolved into class warfare on Twitter, right? Oh, you're giving money to the rich. City money so rich people can buy fancy cars in one of the poorest neighborhoods in town. That's how the refrain on Twitter goes. Like, it reeks of privilege and gentrification. Those are the allegations. It's hard to find any support for this on Twitter. And I get it, Twitter's not the real world. But nevertheless, a sample of some of the backlash. And people are really giving the gears to Ralston King, the counselor. And Matthew Fleury, who says, hey, not my part of the ward. That's Ralston's ward, not my ward. Stop tweeting at me. Go tweet at Ralston. And Ralston King came out in support of this grant. And he is like a raging left-winger, right? But Horizons Ottawa, which is a far left-wing grassroots organization in the city, Horizons Ottawa, tweeted, disappointing response from Ralston King, who is support of the city giving $3 million to a private holding company to build a new Porsche dealership in Vanier because it will nurture economic growth. Vanier doesn't need a new Porsche dealership. It needs more social services. But here's another one, okay? From Twitter. How would a luxury car dealership be directly beneficial to people living in the area? I cannot think of any instance where enriching someone has been more beneficial than helping residents. Who's foolish enough to still believe in trickle-down economics? Here's another one. Build the Porsche dealership in Rockcliffe. Vanier needs a genuine, pedestrian-friendly Main Street, not loan shark sleaze. Here's another one. The vast majority of residents will never, ever, ever set foot on that property or buy anything from them. Only the richest in Ottawa will benefit from this. Another, Ralston King, read the room, just say no to this inappropriate use of public dollars. We need enhancements in transit and active transportation in Vanier, not a luxury car dealership siphoning off limited funds. Another, Ralston King, listen to residents on this. We should not be spending city money on luxury mega corporations. Well, it's a family-owned car dealership. I don't think you call Mark Motors a mega corporation, but nevertheless. Another, $3 million. That's half of what they are saving with the upcoming transit cuts. Ottawa cuts transit and funds Porsche dealership. And then on and on and on. It goes like that on Twitter. You know, with allegations of backroom wheeling and dealing, it's the 1% versus the 99%. It's howls of class warfare on social media with this one. I wonder, if it was a Tesla dealership, or an e-scooter dealership, or a fancy bicycle dealership. I don't know. It's the fact that it's a Porsche dealership has turned a lot of people off here. And I love Councillor Fleury's response on Twitter. Hey, not my ward. Not my ward. Nope. That's Ralston's ward. If you're going to be mad at someone, be mad at him. Go be mad at him. So if you want to weigh in on that, that's an interesting one. Comes up to Fedco. When is David's going to look up when Fedco meets on that one. Be interested to see what had it tomorrow. Okay, thanks, Dave. Let's go to Steve, Westboro. Steve.
Hi, how are you?
Morning, Steve. How are you?
Oh, I'm still hanging in there.
Good,
I have 4 friends of mine that got the AstraZeneca shot.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
One lady was sick for a week.
Right, a week. Holy cow, that's a long time. Yeah.
And one gentleman that night was so sick he passed out and he was shaking, and his sister went to get him right away.
Wow, holy cow.
Serious stuff, right?
Serious stuff by the sounds of it.
The other
yeah.
two people were very, very sick. One was sick for another 3 days, and another one was sick for at least 48 hours.
Right.
Everybody that I knew that got the AstraZeneca shot got sick.
Well, you know me, right? You know me a little bit, right? You've been calling for a long time. I had it. I didn't get sick.
Well, you're fortunate.
Yeah.
I guess you're one of the few, right? As far as
well, no, your friends are the few, actually, right? Those are called adverse reactions. Your friends are in the minority, Steve. Most people, they get this shot, they wake up the next day, they go to work like nothing ever happens.
Funny, yeah. Funny, yeah.
But nevertheless, I mean, the first shot, they're not giving this vaccine for first shots anymore. The big question is about the second shot now, Steve. I mean, that's the big question.
I heard a scientist say on the news that if you mix and match them,
right?
If you have the AstraZeneca and you mix and match it, you'll be 40% more sicker.
I don't know about that.
And the doctor scientist said, if you got the first AstraZeneca, take the AstraZeneca for the second shot, not the other ones.
Well, I think a lot of people would prefer that just for consistency's sake. You know,
right.
I don't know how comfortable people are with mixing and matching these vaccines. It's not.
Well, they're saying you're going to be very sick.
Yeah,
that's what they said. And one other thing I just want to mention.
All right. Yes.
Doug Ford.
Yes.
Has done absolutely nothing for the tenants of Ontario. The landlords are getting richer and richer and richer.
Yeah.
Because every time you look for an apartment, it goes up in price.
Yeah, but there's rent control, though.
No, not really. No, because we told Doug Ford's office a long time ago about that issue. And you know what they said?
What?
No control over that. The landlords can charge whatever they want.
No. We have no. There is rent control. There's rent control. Now, if the unit becomes vacant, then
that's right.
Then it becomes available at whatever the market will tolerate.
That's why it's so hard to find a place, because as soon as somebody moves out, they can raise it $200-300 a month.
Well, plus, and now we're finally getting caught up on this in Ottawa. But let's face it, in Ottawa, they just didn't build a whole bunch of rental housing for a long time.
Build condos so they can make a lot more money.
Well, yeah, that's what happens when you have rent control. Why would you build something when the government controls the price that you can charge for it? You don't have to do that with a condo, but under rent control, that's what happens.
Going right out of control, right?
All right, Steve. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your time.
You know, what did we say? You know, there were those of us on the air screaming at the time, rent control. Okay, it's not going to be a disaster now, but wait 10 years from now, wait 20 years from now. Well, now it's 10, 20 years later. What's the complaint? There aren't enough apartments, and the ones that are out there are in lousy condition, and they want a fortune for them. Well, duh, welcome to rent control. Paul in Ottawa. Paul.
Hi, Rob.
Yeah, Paul.
When it comes to subsidizing the car dealership in Vanier, I always appreciate capitalism and the amazing power of the invisible hand of capitalism. And I think it's the best tool we have to using our resources properly. But I don't agree with this one.
Don't agree with this one? All right.
No, because, here's how I see it. We are all city taxpayers. You, me, everyone who owns the pays property tax.
Sure.
And undoubtedly, there's going to be a strain on on the city taxes. I suspect the rate's going to go up quite a bit because of COVID and all the related problems.
Sure.
But whether that's true or not, when one person, for whatever reason, doesn't pay their tax, their property tax, whatever they would have paid is going to have to be made up by the rest of us. Or the city has to go further into debt, which they'll love to claim that they can't go into debt, but we all know that we're carrying debt as a city. So that's my problem with it, is that if they're not paying it and the city needs money, they're going to have to reach into my pocket or your pocket to pick it up. And my reference to the invisible hand of capitalism, well, they're sort of moving away from it. They're getting a subsidy. And, put a business in there that can survive without a subsidy. And then if there are no takers, then we can sort of look into the problem. But
okay, should that apply to the entirety of Vanier? Because this is a local business. It's an auto dealer. Yeah, it's high-end vehicles. Okay, been in business for 60 years, employs a lot of people, wants to expand. The city has a grant program to help businesses expand right in that area. Okay?
Right.
So is it just Mark Motors that shouldn't be allowed to apply for this grant, or every business in Vanier that should be banned from...
Every business.
Every business. Okay.
No,
Right.
The city starts picking winners and losers. And when they do that, the winners, I hate to say it, tend to be the people with a lot of money, and the losers tends to be the taxpayers, right?
Okay.
I don't know how you've seen it, but that's how I've seen it play out in the past. One thing I'd like to see you ask the same question to is Ian Lee. You have him on.
Well, I will ask him tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'll ask him tomorrow.
I'm very anxious to see what he says because, there's my first gut reaction is this is bad. We all need to pay our taxes. That's basically what's coming down to.
But this would actually net more tax for the city, though.
I've heard that line before. Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you.
All right.
And if you ask Ian Lee
it's in the staff report. It's in the staff report. The tax would go up from $25,000 a year to $335,000 a year.
Well, then I challenge you to do this. When you're talking to Ian Lee about this, ask him. Make a reference. Ask him it's going to play out the same way as Lansdowne did, because I'd be very curious to see what Ian Lee has to say about the way Lansdowne has played out. Because when I listen to the city reports, sunshine and lollipops, as you would say, Rob. But it's when you actually see reports coming in and the money it's costing us, it doesn't work out that way. And when I hear economists talk about that deal or these type of deals, in the end, I don't know, the taxpayer gets screwed because I don't see us sitting at the table actually, the taxpayer.
All right, I got it. No grant for the Porsche dealership.
Well, no grant.
And no grant for anybody.
Well, yeah,
no grant for anybody. My gosh, you are such a Scrooge.
It doesn't work. It's as simple as that.
All right, gotcha. Okay. Simple as that. Okay, all right. It's a program that's available to every business along Montreal Road. This business applied for it. And it comes before the committee this week. I don't know what's going to happen. The city staff says, we think you should do this. I don't see the councillors saying, no, stranger things have happened. The city would come out ahead on a yearly basis on property taxes. And there's also the fact, $1.7 million in fees and permits to build a building in Ottawa. Holy smokes, right? But nevertheless, it's described as... it's corporate welfare for the elite of Ottawa. And let's face it, nobody who lives in Vanier is shopping for a Porsche, or so the line goes. 750-1310, Rob Snow Show on City News.
I'm blessed to be married to someone who is a scientist and spent a lot of time following what was happening over in China ahead of time. So he did give us the heads up that this was coming. Not that we believed him right off the bat, but when it did happen very, very quickly, we were prepared. We had hand sanitizer and we were set up to not close our doors. So we locked the kitchen down at Wellington Street, but we left this kitchen open. We put in protocols immediately. We only allowed our very small crew of 4 or 5 people in at the time. No deliveries were allowed to come in or out of the building without, they just weren't allowed in and out of the building. So we met them at the loading dock and had very strict protocols in place right away. We had masks and hand sanitizer and the whole thing. So we're very lucky from that perspective, and we're able to, learn as we went as far as doing small, individually packed caterings, the frozen soup program, food for the Ottawa mission. So we didn't have to close the kitchen and then learn how to reopen it. We just were able to modify and shift as we needed to. Because of our partnership with the Ottawa mission, we were able to very quickly help support them. They were able to send us some product and some supplies, so it wasn't a burden on our business, and we were able to supply the staffing and the packaging to help produce that when they needed it the most. And we produced about 1,400 meals a week to complement their meals, and we started our soup program right away. We realized very quickly that there was a need in the community to get together and all work together, not only to support local, but also just to support all the people that were suddenly in a position of, being locked down and not being able to get out. So by starting that soup program, our community, our clients got online and started making donations for the soups, and we were able to produce the soups and get them back out to people that needed it. We're right now currently making 150 liters of soup per week, but we've made, I would say, 5,000 or 6,000, easily since the pandemic, probably more. I'd have to do the math but lots. I think everybody in the city has to be very aware of how blessed we were to have great weather this summer and people were able to get out and about, and that's going to shift. So we do have to be much more aware of who our most vulnerable is, and I really think we have to work together as groups. There are so many organizations in the city that are doing something and contributing and working together, and I think it doesn't matter who, but see what you can do to just step up and help them, whatever it is, whether it's driving or delivering food, or someone has extra zucchini in their garden, or if they can afford to donate some money to any of these organizations. I just think we all have to work together. We're smarter and wiser than we were the first time.
On the Rob Snow Show.
Have your say and call now.
613-750-1310.
I wish I could play some of the highlights from that interview from one of those Sunday political talk shows. Question Period, I believe it's called. It has been headlined, AstraZeneca Oxford developer blasts Canada's approach to vaccine, says messing around is going to cost lives. And this guy, Oxford University professor of medicine, Sir John Bell, like he's been knighted for crying out loud. Okay. It's like one haymaker after another. He just laid into some of the decisions made about the vaccine regimen in this country. For example, one quote. Our approach to AstraZeneca use specifically is reflective of the country's overall vaccine strategy, acting a lot on hearsay and not facts. It's just one haymaker after another. He basically says, we're playing with fire and we're going to get burned. Quote, at last look, you guys are 3.6% vaccinated with 2 doses. So just wait for the B1617 variant, the Indian variant, to rip through the Canadian population, and then the problems you've had with these very rare clotting events will look pretty insignificant. He says the Indian variant is going to, it could rip through Canada. And that it could be so bad that any fears about blood clots will seem, quote, pretty insignificant. Quote, unless you've got 2 doses of mRNA vaccine sitting in a back room, you need to get on and vaccinate people. All this messing around is going to cost lives. This is a public health decision. It's not, some academic game. Knighted by the Queen. We're crying out loud. But we've picked up the pace in the country at getting first shots into people. It's the second shots. That's the laggard. Vaccines and sports cars. That's what we're talking about this morning. Devin in Canada. Devin.
Hey, Rob. First-time caller.
Appreciate it, sir.
Yeah. So the wife and I, about 3 weeks ago, we got the AstraZeneca.
Good.
And I felt kind of like crap for the day afterwards.
You did, eh? Okay. Yeah.
Following that, we were both fine.
Yep.
And
not unusual, I guess, from what I
not
understand.
like the other caller there.
Yep.
And then the Mark Motors thing, like, they're going to be paying millions and millions of dollars over the next few decades. So it's really going to end up on the city side as far as money is concerned.
Okay.
So I'm totally
it's an economic development grant. It's supposed to encourage people to build or expand businesses in Vanier. Any business along Montreal Road could apply for this program.
Yep.
And they did.
They are one of them.
And they did. Right.
And they're going to be there for decades and decades.
Sure. Well, they've been there 60 years already. So.
Yeah.
It looks like quite the dealership. My goodness gracious. Yeah.
It is nice.
Yeah, it is nice. and they make nice cars, too. They sell nice cars.
I know, I'm not one of the people.
I won't be driving one, but all the best. Okay, but you're in favor of it, though. You're in no problem with it. Okay. All right, because a lot of people are upset about it. $2.9 million grant to build a new dealership for Mark Motors to sell Porsches. Kevin in Canada. Kevin.
How you doing, Rob?
Good, sir. Thank you.
I guess the thing about this whole vaccine thing, and the actually not vaccines, the entire mess, the COVID mess, it's that it dawned on me last night, the news media, and I kind of accept you because you always try and shoot from the hip. But most of the news media and all the newspapers and whatever, it's almost like, remember that movie Harry Potter, that moving staircase, where like every time you walk down it changed. Yeah. Well, that's what we're in. Like every morning or every couple of mornings you wake up and it's a brand new set of circumstances and everything's got to be changed and everything we thought we knew is all different. And these are supposed to be the experts. Well, if you walk into a plant or something like that and you say you're an expert in combustion and every 2 hours you change your opinion on what they're supposed to do, you're going to get thrown out of that place in 2 minutes.
Right.
A case in point, the number of cases. Okay, they give us this list every day, and we're all jumping up and down and saying, oh, the cases are up, the cases are down. Well, the cases are completely dependent upon the number of tests they do. So it really, what they should be doing, what anyone with a scientific mind would say, we have got like 1,252 cases based on 700,000 tests or whatever.
Well, today we have 2,170 cases based on 24,498 tests with a test positivity rate of 6.8%. How's that for you for thorough? Is that okay?
Is that what they're saying?
That's what it is today. Yeah, I have it right in front of me here.
So that means that just about that was
24,500, let's call it, tests.
That was the number of tests. Okay, well, I guess I haven't seen that part of it. Okay. But it just seems that, like in every aspect of it, they don't give us the whole, the whole story. And that's why these things are changing all the time. Like even the fact that you can get blood clots from it. They should have come out right from the very start and said, this is, I know they did kind of come out and say this is based on 8 million or 4 million injections, and we've got this many people with blood clots, but they keep changing it. It just seems that the news that comes out is invariant, and I go with what they're telling me. I mean, I don't have any better knowledge. But I just wish it would be a little bit more specific about, what percentage of what people are being tested and how many are getting sick and how many vaccines have caused blood. You
want greater depth and perspective.
Continuity.
Continuity. Okay, gotcha. Okay. Gotcha, Kevin. Thank you in Canada. That's it for the Talkback Hour today at 750-1310. Our line is closed. Geoffrey Johnston will join me next from the Kingston Whig-Standard on the Rob Snow Show on City News.
1 for local news in Ottawa and the Valley. This is City News, now on 101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
It's Monday, May 17th. Good morning. I'm Andrew Boyle. Right now in both Ottawa and Smiths Falls, 20 degrees. Here's what's making news in Ottawa and the Valley. Ontario reporting 2,170 new COVID-19 cases today. Of that number, 90 are in Ottawa, 10 in Eastern Ontario, 5 Leeds, Grenville, Lanark, and 7 new cases in Renfrew. There were only about 24,500 tests completed for these numbers, and 4 more people in Ontario have died from COVID. Federal government says Pfizer and Moderna still boosting their deliveries of COVID-19 vaccines this week. About 4.5 million doses expected to arrive in the country. And that news comes as we're finding out about a couple of other companies that their trials are showing very positive results. This is Sanofi and GlaxoSmithKline. All age groups, the vaccine trial showed a strong immune response. After 2 doses, study participants showed neutralizing antibodies in line with those people who had already recovered from the disease. The companies plan to produce up to 1 billion doses a year and do have agreements, both of those companies, with Canada. City News Time, 11:02. It is a major step forward in the vaccination rollout. Ontario opens up the registration tomorrow morning. We get more from City News reporter Momin Qureshi.
It wasn't supposed to happen until next week, but now the province is jumping the gun, saying starting tomorrow morning, anyone 18 plus across the province can book a vaccine appointment. This is because of increased supply of the vaccine that is coming in. So starting tomorrow morning, that provincial portal will start allowing anybody 18 plus to start booking their appointments. We know that a lot of people 18 plus across the province have already been in line for vaccines. If you live in hotspots or if you are able to get to one of those mobile or pop-up clinics that opens in your neighborhood, that has all been happening. But now, whether you live in a hotspot or not, it'll start tomorrow morning. I'm Omen Qureshi.
Now we are finding out more detail about why military general in charge of vaccine distribution in Canada stepped aside. This apparently deals with allegations from an incident that took place over 30 years ago. Here's City News Parliament Hill reporter Cormac McSweeney.
Major General Danny Fortin's sudden departure Friday as the head of Canada's vaccine distribution is reportedly related to a sexual misconduct claim made to military police back in March. CTV reports a formal complaint was made against Fortin, alleging that in 1989, when Fortin was a student at the Royal Military College in Saint-Jean, Quebec, he exposed himself to a woman. In a statement, Fortin's lawyer completely denies any wrongdoing. The Canadian military has stepped up efforts to eliminate sexual harassment in the armed forces. They include allegations recently against several high-ranking commanders, including former Chief of Defense Staff Jonathan Vance and his successor, Admiral Art MacDonald. The Prime Minister is taking part in 2 virtual announcements today, but is not taking any questions from reporters, despite one event having a media availability with other ministers. Cormac McSweeney, Parliament Hill.
City News Time, 11:04. Provincial government standing by the closure of outdoor amenities. The opposition, though, at Queen's Park pushing to get them open. Here's City News Queen's Park reporter Richard Southern.
At Queen's Park, the NDP have brought forward a motion to reopen outdoor amenities, things like golf and tennis. And the legislature was debating this motion, but Government House Leader Paul Calandra appears unwilling to budge on this issue.
I like to play golf. I'm bad at it, but I like to play it. I like to play tennis. I'm not so good at it, but I can wait until June the 3rd to play golf. And I can wait until June the 3rd to play tennis.
The NDP Deputy Leader, Sarah Singh.
The remarks from the government show us how out of touch with the reality of Ontarians you all are. No one recommended that you close outdoor activities and recreational facilities.
An oral vote on this motion to reopen the outdoor facilities failed. A recorded vote will happen later in the day. I'm Richard Southern.
And I'm Andrew Boyle for News Anytime. Follow up online at ottawa.citynews.ca.
The world is changing.
So keep up with Rob.
The Rob Snow Show returns on Rogers TV and City News, 101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Every Monday morning, we're joined by Geoffrey Johnston, columnist on international affairs for the Kingston Whig-Standard. Good morning and welcome back, Geoffrey. It's great to hear from you again.
Good morning, Rob.
And this week you're writing about what's been unfolding in India. You've had a lot of connections with the NGOs, non-governmental organizations. What have they been telling you about the situation in India with COVID-19?
Yeah, it's very bad. As of this morning, the official death toll in India is approximately 274,000 people have lost their lives to COVID-19. And if the current trends are hold by September, 1.5 million people will have died. So it's very bad. So yes, I did contact NGOs that are on the ground. I spoke with Médecins Sans Frontières, the head of Médecins Sans Frontières Canada, Joe Billibo, and I asked about the death tolls, and he told me that due to lack of testing and lack of reporting, the death tolls are actually much higher than those that have been officially reported. So they're saying that approximately 4,000 people are dying a day. Some experts say that it could be as high as 25,000 people a day. I also talked to Plan Canada, which is a charity that looks after children, especially girls, and they've been in India for decades, and they also say that the death tolls are actually much higher than those reported. So what you're seeing on the news is really only the tip of the iceberg. The hospitals are overwhelmed. People are being turned away. So this means people are dying in the street and at home. And so if you're not dying in the hospital, the death probably doesn't get recorded. So that's probably why it's so bad. So there's a shortage of oxygen. People are trying to acquire oxygen on the open market for their loved ones because they're not in hospital. There's a shortage of medicine. There's a shortage of protective equipment for healthcare workers. So it's a really bad situation.
Your message then, in part of your reporting this morning, is that whatever the official numbers say is probably underreported.
That's exactly right. It's worse than it's being reported.
Right. And oxygen is one of the big stories, but what other shortages are your sources reporting?
So it's in general that any medicine that is used to treat a COVID patient. So, when they have to intubate somebody, they have to, give them muscle relaxants and other drugs. I'm not an expert on it. So that's all running in short supply. And then on top of that, you've got people who, have other conditions unrelated to COVID. So people with HIV, tuberculosis, diabetes, hypertension, they're not getting treatment at this point because the entire system has to focus on COVID. And then as well, you've got people, they've got state lockdowns and local lockdowns. So people can't travel between regions. And so they're not getting to the healthcare centers. And so people are going to die of non-related COVID illnesses because they're not being treated. And then on top of that, much of the economy is composed of day laborers. So people go out and they work day to day. They don't have permanent jobs, so they have to go out and work hard every day, find a job, and earn money. But because of these lockdowns, and because of, the disease spreading, many people aren't working, so they're not able to buy food. And Plan International is telling me that there is a malnutrition crisis. And although COVID doesn't kill that many children, and any child that dies of COVID is a tragedy, but many more children are going to die of malnutrition. There's a food crisis unfolding right now in India, so it's very grim.
Okay. It's interesting how fast it all happened. Your reporting indicates for the Whig-Standard, Doctors Without Borders was actually pulling out of one of its missions in India because there were so few cases. And then it just came roaring back. And
yes, in February, Médecins Sans Frontières was ramping down their support mission in Mumbai because there were so few cases. And I asked them, I said, so what happened between then and now? And they told me, frankly, everybody was lulled into a false sense of security because India, did very well in the first wave. And there was a lot of, I think, complacency by the government and by society. And so they allowed public gatherings and they had religious festivals, and it just exploded. And the government wasn't prepared. They didn't have the testing facilities in place. They didn't buy the reagents and everything that's required to do COVID tests. And that's another issue. So they don't really even know how many cases they have. It could be that the case count could be much larger than is being reported. And they were caught flat-footed, and now you're seeing some members, some politicians promoting quack cures. It's crazy things like people smearing themselves with cow dung, using this as a treatment. I saw a politician today saying he drinks cow urine every day to prevent himself from getting COVID-19. And we know that to prevent COVID-19, you need social distancing, you need masks, and you need lockdowns, especially when it's this bad. And so, unfortunately, a bad situation is being made worse by mismanagement and superstition in some cases.
You also asked about long-term societal impacts, and what becomes clear is it will be children and especially girls who will suffer long-term, right, Geoffrey?
Yes. Yeah. So as I say, this is also a food crisis because it's an economic crisis. And when there are stresses on the family, when parents can no longer feed their children, they tend to marry off their daughters. This according to Plan International. And so we're going to see a lot of girls being married off because of this crisis, because the families can no longer take care of them. So that's why it's important for Canadians to support non-governmental organizations that are on the ground in India. So, for example, Plan International provides food assistance to hard-hit families. Other NGOs are doing similar things. So it's really important for Canadians to give to something called the Humanitarian Coalition. So it's all these various non-governmental organizations like World Vision and Oxfam and Plan International and others, and that you may have seen the commercials on television. So they're supporting families in India. They're also buying oxygen and personal protective equipment, doing what they can to help out in the worst crisis in India's history. That's not an understatement. This is definitely the worst crisis in that country's history.
Okay. I would like your comment. You're like me. We're kind of in the same boat. We've each had one shot of AstraZeneca vaccine, and we're both kind of wondering what comes next. Now, 3 million doses of that shot have been given out of 20 million that Canada has procured, 17 million on the way. What should become of those AstraZeneca doses, in your opinion?
Yeah, I understand everybody's anxious about it. And, I'm thinking about it. I'm at day 28 since my shot. I think that the uptake of AstraZeneca in Canada, because of the muddled messaging and unfortunately, 28 cases of blood clots, which is very rare, and I don't want people to be upset. But I don't think that Canadians are probably high on AstraZeneca now. So I think at this point, we've secured all these doses. We should start shipping them to places in need. Because of this crisis in India, India's the biggest producer of vaccines. They have the Serum Institute, but right now they're not exporting any AstraZeneca because of the crisis there, understandably so. But this means that places like sub-Saharan Africa are going to be really hard hit. Very few people in sub-Saharan Africa have been vaccinated, and it doesn't look like a lot of vaccines going to be flowing there anytime soon. So if we can free up some of our doses for areas that have not been vaccinated. In a lot of places, their healthcare workers haven't been done, and that's the bare minimum that should be done. The healthcare workers in these countries should be done right away. So I say, we got lots of the Pfizer coming in, and the Moderna is going to be coming in soon. So I think we can ship our AstraZeneca to the developing world at this point. Because nobody's safe unless we're all safe because of variants. So we've got to get on this sooner rather than later.
Great to hear from you, as always. Thank you so much for this morning.
Thank you, Rob.
Yeah. Geoffrey Johnston from the Kingston Whig-Standard. David Sali standing by. He's with the Ottawa Business Journal. This is the Rob Snow Show on City News.
This affected us big time because when, you know how we are seasoned. We have clothes for the spring, clothes for the winter. That time, lots of clothes didn't arrive on time from Europe or from here because some factory shut down. So, and this put us in an odd position. We received not all the merchandise, part of the merchandise, and people. And for us, we have to be careful, especially with the virus going on. Like did affect the business. Of course, like everybody else, we're not immune. And since the government helped, this did a little bit good for us too, but still affected all the sectors, especially clothing. You can see big corporation affected bad because nobody was thought it's gonna be like this. Earthquake might happen, we joke about it before, things might happen, but this was like a third war, but with a virus. So how to survive, that's the question, and we're doing our best to work with the mall, especially rent in a mall is very high. The government, they have certain, let's say, condition, like how many people will be in the mall or in the stores, etc. Yeah, it's a big factor, but of course, if my store has a back doors or just will be better, it will be much better. At least we can have curbside much easy because we have to shut down completely, and this left a mark on us, on everybody too. People always ask me, go online. Certain things you can go online, let's say t-shirt, certain product people don't know how to fit. But when it comes to clothing, like it's different completely. Let's say I have a customer comes, you can give him 44, but certain suit he might take 42, certain suit he might take 46. So, and how could, suit is not gonna fit the same. And I see people come back and they show me what they got online and not the same fabric. Mostly young people, but if you really want to shop, you have to go to the store because everything will be around you. You want to be sure the color look good, the fit will look good, especially when you spend, doesn't matter how much money, whether 300 or 2,000, You have to try, you have to see what's going on. Please don't be shy, contact us. It will be a pleasure for me to take a suit or coat or anything. Like sometimes people have a funeral, they have things, they have a wedding, they don't want to come to the mall. If I get all the information, I will go and meet them at their home or their business offices. I'm gonna start doing that, and this will help the business and help the people, like they're afraid to come to the mall for time being, or they're too busy at work. They cannot go anywhere at certain times, so I'm glad to do that.
The Rob Snow Show returns
on Rogers TV and City News, 101.1 FM
and 1310 AM.
Dave Sali is back from the newsroom of the Ottawa Business Journal. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning, Rob.
Yeah, it's great to hear from you. I love great stories about side hustles that become successful gigs. And the Ottawa Business Journal has one this week from Matt Horwood, and it's about custom-made dumbbells made out of concrete, a side hustle that becomes a really nice living for a pair of Ottawa guys. Tell me about it.
Well, Rob, you may have heard. I know of a few people who have been able to make a few bucks on the side throughout the pandemic selling used weights on Kijiji. I know people who are going around buying them, reselling them, that kind of thing. Well, it's become quite a cottage industry, right? As you try and phone Fitness Depot and ask, can I order a set of dumbbells there, and see what they tell you. It's not going to be, we'll have them in tomorrow. So these, there are two Ottawa, Nick Susswaldner and Jules Lozone. They're big into working out. They like to pump iron, and they realized that everybody's looking for weights during the pandemic. They tried to go call some of the big stores, couldn't get any. So they both have backgrounds in project management, known each other for years, and they thought, well, hey, let's do something about this. So it was Jules came up with the idea, said, why don't we try and make dumbbells out of concrete? And at first his buddy Nick was like, I don't know, but why don't we try it? Let's experiment. So they spent a couple of months, kind of fooled around with different mixtures and molds, and eventually they came up with the right formula to actually make these dumbbells out of concrete. So they're reinforced as well, just like you have rebar and concrete structures. They put some metal and fiberglass in them to make them a little more durable. They've got handles made out of metal, and then they coat them with a rubberized paint to smooth out the edges and whatnot, and they put them on the market. So theirs are going for about $1.50 a pound, which is a pretty good deal. They say you go on Kijiji, you're often paying $3 to $6 a pound for used weight. So they've been flying off the shelves, so to speak, Rob. They've on the first day they started advertising on Kijiji, they got more than 30 orders and they sold more than $2,000.
First day.
And the sales have just been flowing in the first day.
First day.
So and it's just carried on since. They've had to hire some people, and they've expanded. They've added kettlebells, racks, weight trees, and barbells now. So and they're looking to make those battle ropes, that you see in the CrossFit. People using those. Well, they're going to make those out of recycled fire hoses. So I mean, they've got all kinds of ideas to grow this thing. It's called Garage Gym Guys. That's their company, and they've tripled their production capacity already, and they're still struggling to keep up with the demand. They're looking to move into a new space to expand even more, and yeah, so they've really hit on something here. As Jewel says, it's gotten legit, and it's gotten legit in a hurry. Good for them.
So another retailer, another business that's been legit for a long time, like 60 years, is Giant Tiger, of course, and the first store was in the Byward Market. Big anniversary recently. So you had a chance to speak to some retail analysts about kind of the secret to Giant Tiger's success, and it seems to because it's say bigger than a dollar store, but smaller than a big box store. That's what they're telling you, right?
Right, exactly. But I mean, of course, Giant Tiger, the iconic discount retailer, right? It's really, when you think about it, it's if I were to ask you, Rob, what's an Ottawa-based company that has 10,000 plus employees and more than $2 billion in annual sales? A lot of people would immediately say, oh, it's got to be something like Shopify. But no, it's Giant Tiger has become a force across the country. 259 stores. The yellow, the bright yellow sign, the tiger logo, everybody knows it. Everybody's been to Giant Tiger. And so it was their 60th anniversary on May 3rd, officially. That's when the first store opened in 1961 on George Street. Store's still there. And that's when Gordon Reed, his name was, the founder, and he just stepped down last year, finally, as CEO. But I talked to some retail analysts about the company, in particular Ian Lee. Many people know Ian, a professor at Carleton Sprott School of Business.
Weekly contributor, like Dave Sali, to the Rob Snow Show. Yes.
Weekly. Absolutely. You talk to Ian all the time. You know him well. So he knows his business.
Yes.
And he uses Giant Tiger regularly, he says, as a case study in his classes about an example of how to run a successful discount retail chain. And what he says is that it's really found a niche there, just kind of catering to that. Its price point is above Dollarama, but a little below Walmart. It's kind of in the middle there. It's got that sweet spot, and it's always been hyper focused on that market, that core market of lower prices every day, good quality products. You can buy all kinds of stuff, as you know, at Giant Tiger. You can get your groceries there. You can get dishes there. You can get clothes there.
Oh, yes.
You can get toys, games, you name it. It's got everything, Rob. I'm sure we've all walked through Giant Tiger and marveled at the selection.
Yeah, it does make you wonder, what's it like to be a buyer for Giant Tiger? That's what I wonder. What's it like to, venture off to these far-flung foreign wholesalers and buy stuff that's going to retail at Giant Tiger? It must be wild to do that, I think. So, yeah, crazy.
Yeah, Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, that's very interesting. And I love any story, David, that's written that mentions Byway. I forgot all about Byway. Do you remember Byway? Yeah, Byway's still around. Byway is still around. It's still around. But, Byway. I used to shop at Byway, too. Always looking for a deal. Salesforce. What are they doing locally here? Huge company.
Well, it's interesting, Rob, because Salesforce, obviously a huge Silicon Valley company now. Their headquarters is now the tallest building in San Francisco. So they are really, literally soaring above the competition in more ways than one. But they've become a global software powerhouse, making, of course, customer relationship management software. And 50,000 employees around the world, offices all over the place, but not any in Ottawa until now or soon. They have signed a deal. They will be the anchor sponsor for a new meeting and events hub in Canada North. So right in the heart of the Canada North Business Association, the tech park out there with hundreds of tech businesses. Well, Salesforce wants in on it. They're not actually going to set up a physical office yet in Canada, but they are going to be sponsoring this new space called Hub 350, which is actually going to be on the ground floor of Mitel's former headquarters at 350 Leggett Drive, hence the name. So Salesforce, it's kind of their way of dipping their toe in the water, so to speak, getting planting their flag in Canada, if you will, and they've signed a 3-year deal to sponsor this space. They're going to probably offer seminars. They're going to be there to offer their services, to form partnerships with some of the other tech firms in Canada North, and officials at the Canada North Business Association think that this could be the first step kind of getting them to hopefully set up a full-fledged office in Canada, and maybe pave the way for even more Silicon Valley firms to actually say, hey, there's this pretty cool tech park up there in Canada, in Ottawa.
Good.
Maybe we should be a part of it too.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. Hey, always great to have the update from the Ottawa Business Journal. Thank you, Dave Sali.
Thanks, Rob.
Yep, the editor at the Ottawa Business Journal, Dave Sali. Back with Duff Conacher, the co-founder of Democracy Watch, right after the news on City News.
One for local news in Ottawa and the Valley. This is City News, now on 101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
It's Monday, the 17th of May. Good morning. I'm Sarah Buchan. Right now in Ottawa, nice bright sunshine, 22 degrees. In Smiths Falls, sunny and 22. Here's what's making news this hour. All Ontarians 18 and up will be eligible to book a COVID-19 vaccination starting tomorrow morning. The province says it's expanding eligibility ahead of schedule after a shipment of vaccine that was scheduled to arrive next week came early. It says those who are turning 18 this year will also be able to book a shot, but only the Pfizer-BioNTech one, since no others have been authorized for use on teens in this country. Provincial health officials reporting 90 new cases of COVID-19 in Ottawa out of 2,170 new cases across Ontario. The province is reporting 4 more deaths due to the virus. Elsewhere, locally, the Leeds Grenville Lanark Health Unit confirms 14 new cases, 2 of those in the past 24 hours. And Public Health Ontario reports 10 new cases in Eastern Ontario, 7 in Renfrew County. Today's numbers are out of over 24,000 tests. Ontario is contributing funds to hundreds of projects supporting virtual learning at post-secondary institutions. That includes new resources, simulations, courses, and programs. Colleges and Universities Minister Ross Romano announced the initiative today. It's part of the province's $70 million virtual learning strategy. I'm Sarah Buchan. For news anytime, follow up online at ottawa.citynews.ca.
He's a pillar of community opinion.
The Rob Snow Show returns
on Rogers TV and City News.
101.1 FM
and 1310 AM.
Last week came the news from the Ethics Commissioner, Mario Dion. Justin Trudeau, Prime Minister Trudeau, you're cleared. Bill Morneau, not so much. Bill Morneau resigned last August, although he denied that anything was improper in his case. But Mr. Trudeau faced scrutiny because he had personal ties to We Charity, and We Charity was tapped by the Trudeau government to oversee the volunteer program for students during the pandemic. But did Mario Dion get it right? Democracy Watch says no, he did not. And Duff Conacher is here to tell us what his organization is going to do next. Good morning.
Good morning.
So what do you think the Ethics Commissioner got wrong?
4 big things.
Okay.
Number 1, he concluded that Prime Minister Trudeau was in a strong appearance of a conflict of interest because of his family's relationship with We Charity, but he said he wasn't in a real or potential conflict of interest. Well, Trudeau's spouse is an ambassador and podcaster for We Charity. That makes it a real conflict of interest. The Ethics Commissioner has said that conflicts of interest are not just financial, but include social or political interests as well. And also because We Charity had promoted the Trudeaus for a long time, the Trudeaus had promoted We Charity, that also makes it a real conflict of interest. Then, because he only found that Trudeau was in an appearance of conflict of interest, the second error the Commissioner made was he said, the Conflict of Interest Act does not cover an appearance of a conflict of interest. Well, the Act says that it covers conflicts of interest, and the courts have defined the words conflict of interest to include an appearance of a conflict of interest. So even if you think that Trudeau was only in the appearance of a conflict of interest, the law still prohibits that. So that was the second big error.
Okay.
And then third, it also says that you're not allowed to improperly further another person or entity's interests. Well, it's improper to, when in an appearance of a conflict of interest, to be taking part in decisions. And Trudeau did that. So the law covers him in that way as well. And the Commissioner just ignored that part of the law. And so that was a big mistake as well. And it also says that you can't further the interests of your friends. And he ignored clear evidence that the Trudeaus and the Kielburger brothers, who head up We Charity, are friends. They both said they were friends back in 2015, and their ties have only deepened since then. So those are 4 big errors, and it sets a really bad precedent, and that's why Democracy Watch is going to court.
Okay. So how do you challenge that? You're going to court. Walk us through how that works.
Well, it's called a judicial review application. Okay. We file it in federal court.
Right.
And then the court will decide whether the Commissioner did make these errors. and reached an unreasonable conclusion. And I think it's pretty clear. Trudeau himself said he should have recused himself, and the ethics commissioner in his report says at the end of his ruling, it's always advisable to recuse oneself promptly when facing an apparent conflict of interest. Well, why? Because it's improper.
Yes.
And
a
conflict of interest, which is covered by the conflict of interest.
Yes, see, this confused many of us last week who are not as well versed in it, the language of the act, as you are, Duff Conacher. I was thinking, well, if the Conflict of Interest Act doesn't cover an apparent conflict of interest or the appearance of a conflict of interest, that would seem to be a major shortcoming with the act. But you're saying, no, it does. It does.
It does, yeah.
Right.
The words conflict of interest, which the act covers and says you can't be in a conflict of interest and take part in a decision-making process, that has been defined in a unanimous Federal Court of Appeal ruling as including real, potential, and apparent conflicts of interest. So Commissioner Dion just ignored the court's interpretation of the law, as well as the law itself. The Conflict of Interest Act says that its purpose is to prevent conflicts of interest. It doesn't say just real and potential conflicts of interest. But beyond that, it also says you can't take part in the decision-making process when you have an opportunity to improperly further another person or organization's interest. And the Prime Minister's own code for Cabinet, which covers himself, says that himself and cabinet ministers cannot be in an appearance of a conflict of interest. So his own code says it's improper. Yes. Well, that makes it improper. And,
yes.
And so well, they're friends. I think there's clear evidence of that. And like he found Bill Manuel guilty of furthering the interests of the Kielburgers and We Charity because he's friends with Craig Kielburger, the commissioner also should have found that the Trudeaus are friends as well in terms of the act. And for all these reasons, I mean, it's just an error-filled ruling, and the commissioner ties himself into knots, contradicts himself, and he cuts the federal ethics law into pieces in a way that will set a precedent that will allow, in the future, ministers and prime ministers to just set up a scheme where their family have close relationships to organizations, but not close enough to satisfy the commissioner, and then they'll be able to hand out the public's money to those individuals and organizations that they have close relationships or that their families have close relationships, which is a really bad precedent to set.
The idea of avoiding even the appearance of a conflict of interest, would you say that's always been the gold standard, has it not?
It is, very much so. You really don't have an effective law if it doesn't include appearance of conflict of interest, because it allows you to set up a scheme where, it's not a real conflict of interest. My family is not directly financially benefiting, so I'm allowed to take part in it and hand out money to this organization that a family member is a board member of or something. It has to be appearance standard or it's not really effective. But the commissioner defined real conflicts of interest as being more than financial, as including political and social interests, when he found Trudeau guilty of furthering the interests of SNC-Lavalin and his own political interests by trying to stop the prosecution of SNC-Lavalin in last year's report. And he ignored that part of that report as well in this report. So as I say, he's contradicted himself and tied himself into knots and cut the federal ethics law to pieces and created a huge loophole.
What do you think?
Hopefully the courts will close that loophole and say he was wrong.
Okay. Duff Conacher is with us, co-founder of Democracy Watch. What do you think the big differences were between the Trudeau finding and the Morneau finding? Morneau bad, Trudeau okay. What do you think?
That's part of how the ethics commissioner contradicted himself.
Okay.
He found that Morneau was a friend, and his staff gave preferential treatment to We Charity, and that's why he found him guilty. But the friendship of Morneau there's no evidence that it's any greater. His friendship with Craig Kielburger, one of the brothers that heads up We Charity, there's no evidence that it's any greater than the relationships that Trudeau and his family have had with the Kielburgers since 2015, when, again, both of them said they were friends. Craig Kielburger said, Trudeau's my friend. Trudeau said, was speaking at a We Charity event that in November 2015, right after his first public speech after he became Prime Minister. And he said, our friends, Craig and Mark Kielburger, should be lauded for their achievements. And then since then, again, the ties have only deepened. You know, his wife is an ambassador for the organization and a podcaster. And every time you see them, you see friendly relations.
Well, I'm not sure how often we'll see them together now. But,
no, you won't.
They seem to have had a falling out over this.
It sets this very bad precedent for the future, where all you have to do is arrange things in a certain way, and you will be able to hand out public money to individuals and organizations that your family members have close relationships with and that you have close relationships with.
Right.
That's a really bad precedent if we want to have an ethical government. And ethical government decision-making.
The Trudeau 1 report was about the Agacon, right?
That's right.
Right, and the Christmas vacation and
he was found guilty of
and then we had Trudeau 2, which was about SNC-Lavalin, right? And he was found to have violated the Ethics Act again. And this is
although, just to mention, Democracy Watch is also in court over that.
Okay.
Because Morneau, his staff, Prime Minister Office staff and Cabinet Office staff all pressured the Attorney General in the same way Trudeau did, and they're all covered by the same law that he's covered by. And the Ethics Commissioner let 9 of Morneau and 8 others off for doing the same thing Trudeau did. So we're challenging that as well, because that set a precedent that says, well, your Cabinet staff are not really covered by this law as long as they're doing what you tell them. So, just arrange it so that they do the dirty stuff that you're not allowed to do as a cabinet minister. And if they get caught, they'll be let off. That's what the precedent that it set, which is, again, a really bad precedent to have out there that essentially says cabinet staff can do the dirty stuff that the law says that ministers can't do themselves. So we're challenging that in court as well. And then this one we're challenging in court because,
so
again,
this is Trudeau 3. This would be Trudeau 3. Yeah.
And it's
the trilogy is complete. The trilogy is complete, Duff Conacher.
Yeah, well, it won't be complete until the courts reverse this decision,
right?
Because he really should have been found guilty. I think what the Ethics Commissioner did in this situation is very similar to what he did in SNC-Lavalin. I'll find one person guilty. Everyone should be then satisfied and just ignore the fact that I'm letting off others who did the same thing and violated the law in the same ways, and I'll just let them off. And in this case, in the SNC-Lavalin case, he let off Morneau and 8 PMO and cabinet staff, and in this case, he found Morneau guilty and let Trudeau off. But that's not a rule of law, right? You don't just say, "Oh, I'm going to find one person who was involved in a situation guilty, but let the others off." That, especially when you set a really bad precedent that will allow unethical government decision making and handing out money to the friends of cabinet ministers and their families in the future, and legalize it all.
How long has this position been around, Ethics Commissioner?
The Ethics Commissioner was originally an ethics counselor who was completely controlled by the Prime Minister, and Chrétien set that up. And then it was finally made independent by when Stephen Harper was Prime Minister. More independent. The Cabinet still handpicks the person through a secretive process, and so Trudeau Cabinet handpicked the Ethics Commissioner and the Lobbying Commissioner, Information Commissioner, all these watchdogs. So since 2007, we've had this commissioner who is an officer of Parliament, has some independence from Cabinet, but a horrible record since then. The old Ethics Commissioner, Mary Dawson, let off 84% of people that she investigated. And this new Ethics Commissioner is doing the same thing. But it's getting better. I mean, it would have been impossible when Chrétien was Prime Minister for the Ethics Counselor to find him guilty, because the ethics counselor's ruling went to Chrétien, and then Chrétien was the one who decided what to release.
Right.
And of course, he was never found guilty, and 20 of his cabinet ministers violated the rules in very clear ways, so did Paul Martin and many others, and none of them were ever found guilty. There was only 3 situations where ministers were found guilty, and that was just because the situations were so obviously bad. Like you may remember, Art Eggleton had his arm around a girlfriend of his, and then he had handed her a contract, and the picture of them was on the front page of the Ottawa Citizen. So it was pretty hard for the ethics counselor to say, nothing here, there's nothing going on. But, they all took trips from lobbyists and accepted donations and gifts, and Chrétien did a bunch of stuff that he should have been found guilty for, and they were all let off because Chrétien controlled the ethics counselor. He was a true lapdog. Now we have someone who's more independent, but still, unfortunately, a lapdog.
Okay. Thank you, Duff Conacher. Good to hear from you, sir.
Thank you very much. I'll keep you updated on both the SNC-Lavalin case and the We Charity case as they move through the courts.
Appreciate it. Co-founder of Democracy Watch, that's Duff Conacher. This is the Rob Snow Show on City News.
I wanted to give gifts to my volunteers, so I started making, I knew this is a skill I had, so I made chocolate that had culture, a cultural based with a teaching, because culture here is not just a little part, it's the large part, it's the fundamental part of our organization. So then we started doing, just little programs, and we sell a few at a fair. And then we started getting contracts. People were starting to enjoy the chocolates, and started getting more and more contracts all across Canada. Then we decided to become a social enterprise, and we were able to create 2 jobs. And Val is one of our chocolatiers, very talented. We were able to help her with employment.
We started just with a little bit in the kitchen, doing a little bit of chocolate together, and next thing, it's just kind of taken off. And it's great, because I love to be creative, and we get to create a lot and make up stuff, and it's just I just love it. It's just great that we get to make money back for Wabano, and it's helping me out, and we're helping just everybody out, Wabano and everything.
We met a very socially conscious business owner being around town, and we decided to partner, because beans and chocolate, coffee and chocolate are sort of created the same way, and there's and they're very one origin bean, so it was a good pairing together. And it's been a fantastic partnership for both of us.
I was fortunate enough to get introduced to Purat, the head of Wabano Fine Chocolates, through a local networking group. And I was completely intrigued by the social enterprise that she was running, and then I looked at what we were doing, trying to support local business and supporting local communities, and it was a perfect match, and it's been fantastic ever since.
We make every batch by hand. We temper it by hand to get to the consistency it needs to be to make a good chocolate. And one of the best, also wonderful things we did, we've connected with Ed, with being around town, and our coffee bars have been an amazing hit. So we're really excited about the connection with our coffee.
Ottawa icon.
The Rob Snow Show returns
on Rogers TV and City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Hey, let's do a checkup and assessment of COVID-19 in Ottawa from Dr. Doug Manuel, epidemiologist, University of Ottawa, member of Ontario's Science Advisory Table. Good morning, Doctor. Welcome back.
Good morning. Good to be back.
Yeah, it's great to hear from you. I remember, about 6 weeks ago now, you were on the program and you said, I think it's going to be a difficult April. Anyway, it was. Sure was. And now here we are. We're in the middle of May. We have like 90 cases locally. We've gone province-wide from 4,800 daily cases a day down to this number today, 2,170. So that's down a good 54-55%. How do you think things are going now?
Days are definitely brighter. There's a few headwinds or clouds in the distance, but we're in a period where it should be feeling better and better, or it's ours to lose. If we can't, this is almost an empty net right now, in a sense that our vaccinations are going up. We've been decreasing quite quickly, but quicker than I had anticipated, actually. Many of the models anticipated. So we're doing really well. Now, that said, last week we flattened off a bit. That magic hour is gone. Right now it's currently 1 in Ottawa. It's very worrisome. It should be lower than that. But in generally, we're doing pretty well. I think we want to really take advantage of this period to get as low as we can coming into opening. And that will set us up. Everything revolves around, having low numbers and having good vaccination. And if we can achieve that going into summer, it's going to, the camps are going to feel like it opens up the opportunity to have camps. It opens up the opportunity to do more. And from the control perspective, I kind of starting to use the term cluster buster. We want to get down low enough that we can, it's going to transition from these rapidly spreading all over the community to more of these clusters. And those clusters have been shutting down cities like Yellowknife and some countries. But if we can get low enough that we can really identify where these clusters are coming from and stamp them out, then businesses and everyone's going to feel a lot more comfortable getting out.
How would you describe the state of the variants of concern in the Ottawa area right now?
Well, that's where the cloudy area comes. And it's that where we're seeing coming from UK now, the reports are sort of moderate likelihood that the Indian variant has another 40-50% increase in transmission over the UK variant, the B117. So right now we've got in Ottawa, pretty much everything is B117, which means compared to this time last year, there's about 50% increased transmission of COVID and 50% increased likelihood of being hospitalized. And now we're starting to see reports getting closer eyes on that Indian variant that says add another 50% to that in terms of transmission. So that one I've been watching for a while. It's now right on the radar. I'm going to be watching it like a hawk. And this is a real reason, I think, to get as low as we possibly can right now while we're given the opportunity.
Okay. Well, and again, what concerns you so much about that particular variant that you would want to watch it like a hawk?
It's so transmissible. Like if this happened, if we confirm in Canada the transmissibility, and it's so transmissible, I don't think we could have stopped it without vaccination. Like if this happened last year, I don't think that we would have a chance. It would have ripped through. Now we've got a really good chance with the vaccinations are effective against it, but we're not fully vaccinated. And so we might be this back to the race of the V's, Rob, that we talked about on the show many times.
Yes.
We kind of lost the race of the V's in April. And we don't want to lose the next one.
Okay. We have, as a strategy, it's similar to the strategy in the UK. The UK has just been more successful at executing this strategy. Let's get as many first doses as we can into as many people as we can. So in Canada, we're at closing in on about 50% of the population has had at least one dose of vaccine. But the real outlier, especially when you compare Canada to its peer countries, the real outlier is the number of people who have been fully immunized. It's less than 4%. It's somewhere between 3.6% and 3.7%. Does that concern you at all? The lack of people who have not had a second shot yet?
Yeah, Yellowknife right now, they're just starting to open up a bit. I think they're planning to get the schools back this week, but they're 60% 2 doses of Moderna for a while now. So, and they had people coming in, they had zero COVID, and then they had people coming in, and it spread pretty quickly, and it spread through the schools, and then to adults. They shut down the schools. They shut down a lot of businesses. We're seeing this in Seychelles and in the Indian Ocean country that has a lot of tourism. 60%. Now, for them, it was a lot of a single dose. That country's been shut down. So for me, currently, that 60% benchmark of 2 doses, we want to be north of that. We want to be higher than that from what I've been seeing around the world. So, yeah, we got some ways to go yet, but definitely the single dose is the way to go initially. And we're starting to vaccinate single doses to that main group that where a lot of transmission happens, the 20 to 40-year-olds. That's going to really help us in terms of the number of cases. We first focused on the older folks and the vulnerable folks. That helped us for deaths and hospitalizations. And now we're getting to that part where we're going to really be able to break up transmission. And breaking up transmission to 24-year-olds is going to have a benefit for transmission to those older, more vulnerable as well. So I think it's good. And then getting to the second dose for the vulnerable folks will be the strategy. I've been told that we have enough vaccine for first dose for June 6th or first week of June, 2 doses by end of July. I know I'm hearing different things officially, but that's what I've heard. If that's the case, we have the potential, we may need to double in Ottawa the number of vaccines we're given each day. But with those numbers, but that will be incredible. That will rapidly expand. Currently, we're vaccinating faster than any country in the world. Israel vaccinated faster at its peak, but we're actually vaccinating quite quickly in Canada.
Okay. COVID is airborne. Researchers have been trying to make that case for over a year, and now there seems to be consensus. There's acceptance by the World Health Organization and the CDC. What does that mean?
This might be a whole nother discussion another day, but we've known this. I've been one of the folks saying, I think medicine has not done service for everyone, that we've kind of been overly simple. It's been constant how simple to make the message, and when the message is always varied. So COVID has is a risk approach. Most of it is spread very closely, but you can have situations where it can go quite a bit. And I love the term I think that you coined is lingering. I use that one all the time, Rob. And so we've known this. It doesn't change our overall approach too much, but let's talk about maybe another day. Just talk about that.
Okay.
For people walking down the street, it doesn't really change. Wear your mask if you want to wear it too. Great. If you're worried, if you're in a close confined space, that's great. But wear your mask, keep your distance, and you're going to be okay.
This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line. Email us or connect with us on social media.
Hi, I'm Barbara Balfour, host of Ottawa Experts. In these challenging